Chapter 1. Sacred Star Empire, Flaming Rain City. This was a particularly prosperous city. During the day, there was an endless stream of horses and carriages, and the flow of people flowed like a river. At night, there were songs and dances, and the lights were bright. In addition, Flaming Rain City's geographical location was relatively close to the imperial capital, which made the city even more prosperous. Spring was approaching, and everything was recovering. However, Flaming Rain City welcomed the last snowfall before the beginning of spring. The snowflakes fluttering in the sky were like pure white feathers, floating in every corner of Flaming Rain City. Everything was covered in silver, and it was a pure white. The rustling cold wind was like the roar of a ghost. The cold wind was like a knife, scratching at one's face, causing pain. In the windy and snowy night, the huge street was empty, and it was unusually quiet. However, at this moment, a battered and exhausted figure was slowly moving on the ground. That person's entire body was lying on the ground, and the way he moved was using the joints of his limbs to crawl on the ground. In the thick layer of snow, long drag marks were left behind him. The pure white snow was dyed with a dazzling color by the dark red blood. This was a 15 or 16-year-old youth with delicate and handsome features. His facial features were handsome, and his outline was firm. A pair of pitch-black pupils surged with endless anger and hatred. It was a kind of anger that came from the soul, and hatred that came from the bones. The youth's face was as pale as paper, and his teeth bit his lips tightly. Blood constantly flowed from the corners of his mouth. Before the drops of blood fell on the snow, they had already turned into red ice crystals. More than half of his meridians and bones were broken, and even the tendons of his hands and feet were cut off. What kind of hatred was this? How could it harm a person to such an extent? Big Brother Chu Hen, suddenly, a clear and melodious voice that was filled with anxiety and panic assaulted along with the cold wind. In the next instant, a delicate and beautiful figure directly fell in front of the youth. This was a 14 or 15-year-old girl, with red lips and white teeth. Her skin was like snow, and her big eyes were filled with tears as she looked at the poor youth in front of her. Big Brother Chu Han, how did you become like this? That damned bastard Lu Xiao, Yi Yao, will definitely not let him off. Looking at the girl's anxious and angry expression, the young man's lips twitched slightly as a complicated look appeared in his eyes. The young man's name was Chu Hen. He was one of the 4 geniuses of Shaozong College. Shaozong was the largest youth institution in Blazing Rain City, and the so-called youth institution was a place that was specially for the younger generation to pass on their first martial arts. Once they reached a certain age, the students of the youth academy would participate in the academy leaving examination and enter a high-ranked martial house. From then on, he would truly embark on the path of martial arts. In another 3 months, Chu Han would have to participate in the martial house's assessment. It was said that the academy that came to Blazing Drenched City to recruit students this year was one of the 5 top academies in the imperial capital, Tifeng Province. As one of Shaozong's 4 geniuses, Chu Han would not have the slightest difficulty entering Tifeng Province. However, he did not expect that the unexpected would befall on Chu Han without any warning. In the evening, Chu Han prepared to go back to rest after he finished his necessary cultivation homework as usual. However, at this time, he received a letter. The content of the letter asked him to go to the Maple Pavilion in the south of the academy for a while. Looking at the familiar handwriting, Chu Han did not think too much and immediately set off. However, when he arrived at the Maple Pavilion, he did not see the person in the letter but another girl with a delicate appearance. Before Chu Han could ask the other party about the reason, the delicate girl actually tore her own dress and hugged Chu Han and shouted for help. Chu Han did not have the time to defend himself and did not have the time to argue. A group of people appeared, and the leader of this group was none other than the leader of Shaozong's 4 geniuses, the young master of the Lu family, Lu Xiao. Looking at Lu Zhao's mocking smile and the delicate girl who was crying like a pear blossom in the rain, as well as the angry gazes around him, Chu Hen understood that he had been framed. This was an extremely lowly and simple move, but with the witness and material evidence present, Chu Hen would not be able to clear his name even if he fell into the Yellow River. Following that, an even more cruel blow came one after another. The leader of the four geniuses, Lu Xiao, attacked Chu Hen without saying a word. Lu Zhao's cultivation base was at the 7th level of the channel opening stage, while Chu Hen was only at the 6th level. Moreover, the former had the bloodline limit of the lion power martial body. Moreover, after being framed, Chu Hen's mind was in chaos. Not only was he quickly defeated by Lu Xiao, but his 9 main martial meridians were also shattered. After that, his 9 main martial veins were shattered, and the tendons in his arms and legs were cut off. To a high-spirited genius, this was simply an inhumane and destructive blow. After the incident, Lu Zhao's reputation rose, and he was praised by everyone in Flame of Rain City. On the other hand, Chu Hen was expelled from Shaozong College, and he suffered a torture that was more painful than death. Big brother Chu Hen, don't worry. I will definitely cure you. Our Yi family has many miraculous medicines. Yi Yao's eyes were filled with tears as she tried to help Chu Hen up. However, Chu Hen, whose tendons in his hands and feet had been destroyed, could not get up at all. Yi Yao was so anxious that she cried. She hurriedly shouted in a direction, "Big sister, big brother Chu Hen is over here. Come quickly." Rustle, the sound of footsteps stepping on the snow came from afar. A young and beautiful girl walked over. The girl was wearing a white mink coat. She had long black hair and delicate facial features. She had the temperament of a noble. Behind her, there were 4 or 5 guards with fierce auras. "Big sister, quickly save big brother Chu Hen." Yi Yao's eyes shone. The noble girl sighed softly, then took out an exquisite small bottle. "Little Yao, give this to him. It can relieve his pain." Okay. Yi Yao hurriedly took the small bottle, poured out a few round brown pills, and brought them to Chu Hen's mouth. "Big brother Chu Hen, quickly eat it." However, Chu Hen did not pay the slightest bit of attention to her. His pair of deep eyes were filled with coldness as he stared at the noble young lady. Yi Yao was shocked by Chu Hen's look. In her impression, Chu Hen had never shown such a look to her sister. The noble girl looked at him indifferently and said calmly, "Chu Hen, I know you were confused for a moment. I hope you can turn over a new leaf in the future and become a normal person." Hearing this, Yi Yao looked at her in disbelief. "Sister, how could you say such a thing? You know what kind of person brother Chu Hen is. He would never do such a thing. The person he likes has always been you. The person he likes has always been you." The noble girl's expression was still indifferent. "It's no longer important." "Ha ha!" Chu Hen suddenly laughed, but it was a disdainful sneer. His lips slightly moved and his voice was as cold as a knife. "Big Miss Yi Yu, the matter of framing me, you also have a part to play in it." "What? How is that possible?" Yi Yao could not help but blurt out. "Big brother Chu Hen, you can't wrongly accuse me. I would never harm you." Chu Hen's eyes were still cold and sharp like an icicle under the eaves. "Big Miss Yi Yu, the letter that asked me to go to Feng Wanting was written by you." "Impossible, absolutely impossible. Big brother Chu Hen, you must be mistaken. Someone must have imitated my handwriting to write that letter." Yi Yao was so anxious that her tears kept falling. In Shaozong College, the person she relied on the most was her sister, and the person she worshipped the most was Chu Hen. In Yi Yao's heart, she had long regarded Chu Hen as her future brother-in-law. But the situation in front of her made her feel sincerely afraid. Chu Hen's eyes were a little scarlet. This was anger, absolute anger. His cold eyes stared at Yi Yu's beautiful face. "I can believe that the letter was forged by someone else. But when Lu Xiao framed me, you, Yi Yu, were also at Maple Pavilion. You can hide yourself, but the fragrance of the incense pouch on your body betrayed you. You hid in the dark and watched my meridians being destroyed by Lu Xiao, and you still dare to say that you have nothing to do with this matter? Chu Hen almost roared like a beast's roar. Yi Yao, who was at the side, was scared out of her wits. She knelt powerlessly on the ice-cold, snowy ground. A faint emotion flashed through Yi Yu's eyes, but she quickly regained her calmness. When she looked at Chu Hen again, there was a faint trace of pity in her eyes. This kind of pity was like the way a high and mighty aristocrat would look at a beggar by the roadside. And this kind of gaze was like a sharp knife that pierced straight into Chu Hen's heart. How he wished to hear Yi Yu argue. How he wished that Yi Yu would defend herself. She would explain that it was merely Lu Zhao's plot, that she had no part in this matter, and that it was Chu Hen who had misunderstood her. However, Yi Yu didn't do so. She didn't need to explain, because there was no need. She was the eldest daughter of the Yi family, and also one of the 4 geniuses of Shaozong. At this moment, in Yi Yu's eyes, Chu Hen was no different from a beggar in the eyes of the aristocrats. The gap between the two of them was so huge, why was there a need to explain? On account of our past friendship, I will send someone to inform the people from the general's residence to come and look for you. Yi Yu's indifferent tone was filled with arrogance. Chu Hen gritted his teeth, and his throat moved as he coldly spat out a word, scram. You're on your own. Yi Yu's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. She did not take another look at Chu Hen and turned around to leave. Yi Yao, who was at the side, hurriedly shouted, No, sister, you can't leave brother Chu Hen here. He will die, Miss Yi Yao. I will immediately inform the people from the general's residence to look for him. You don't need to worry. Without waiting for Yi Yao to finish her sentence, the 2 guards forcefully took her away. Before they left, one of the guards looked at Chu Hen with extreme disgust. Humph, do you still think that you are one of the 4 geniuses of Shaozong College? A cripple like you dares to slander my miss? The guard spat on the ground, then turned around and left in disdain. Yi Yu and her group quickly disappeared into the night, and Yi Yao's cries gradually faded away. Chu Hen's gaze became sharper. Near the entrance of the Yi family, Yi Yu suddenly slowed down her footsteps, and signaled a few guards to bring Yi Yao in first. Swoosh! When Yi Yu was left alone, a young figure appeared not far behind her. Hee, congratulations to Miss Yi Yu for getting rid of that cripple. The frivolous laughter made Yi Yu frown. Lu Xiao, are you here to say such sarcastic words? This young man was none other than the head of Shaozong's geniuses, Lu Xiao. He had a tall and slender figure, and he was in high spirits. Arrogance could be seen between his handsome brows. Hee, Miss Yi Yu, I helped you settle Chu Hen. Aren't you going to give me a reward? I didn't ask you to destroy his cultivation, Yi Yu said coldly. But you didn't stop me, which means that you don't object to me doing so. A playful smile appeared on Lu Zhao's face. Yi Yu's eyes turned cold, and she ignored him and turned around to leave. Then, Lu Xiao said again, I'm here to tell you that the Tifeng province's assessment ceremony will be held during your birthday banquet 3 months later, Miss Yi Yu. Are you satisfied with this? Yi Yu's footsteps paused for a while, and her expression softened a lot. Then, she returned home alone. Heh. Lu Xiao laughed complacently. Immediately, his figure moved and disappeared into the night. The snow was getting heavier, and the cold wind was bone-chilling. It was still the same street, and it was still the same young man. However, the trail behind him had long been buried by the thick snow. Chu Hen's movement speed was getting slower, and his body temperature was getting lower. His handsome face was already a little pale. His limbs and body that were originally in extreme pain had become numb, and he could not feel anything at all. Suddenly, a tall and slender figure walked in front of Chu Hen. Chu Hen raised his head, and what came into view was the face of a gentle middle-aged man. It was an unfamiliar face. The man's appearance could not be considered handsome, but it made people feel very comfortable and especially pleasing to the eye. An elegant and calm temperament exuded from between his brows. The man's eyes were as calm as a pool of water as he looked at the young man in front of him. His lips moved slightly, and he gently spat out a few words. "Your life is very bad. Your life is very bad." There did not seem to be any emotional fluctuations in these words, as if it was just a casual sentence. Chu Hen's lips trembled slightly, but he did not pay attention to the other party, nor did he ask for help. Instead, he stubbornly supported his injured body and crawled away. The exhausted Chu Hen only felt that his body was tens of thousands of pounds. After crawling for less than 2 meters, he fell to the ground due to exhaustion. Chu Hen turned around with difficulty, and let the cold snowflakes fall on his face. His consciousness was getting more and more blurred, and Chu Hen slowly closed his eyes. "Lu Xiao, if I, Chu Hen, do not die today, I will definitely make your whole family, grieve." New book release after a month. We are in the same boat through thick and thin, fighting in the pugilistic world again. Brothers, please collect more, and if you have the conditions, give me some tips. Don't let the fan list be too ugly. Fish here. Thanks brothers for your great support. The Supreme Being descends, the Divine King returns. Brothers who support the Supreme Divine Diagram, please continue to support the Divine King. Brothers, on the first day of the new book release, it all depends on you. Chapter 2. What is this place? Have I already arrived at the Netherworld Palace? When Chu Hen's consciousness gradually turned from hazy to clear, a great doubt filled his mind. This was a world shrouded in a dark fog, quiet and strange. The illusory light smoke was like a demonic mist, cold and threatening. Boom! Suddenly, a strange wave of power suddenly attacked from the sky. Chu Hen's heart froze, only to see that in the sky of the incomparably vast ninth heaven, a dazzling silver brilliance blossomed. The silver brilliance set off the endless fog, surging like a tide. Rumble, accompanied by a thunder-like momentum, the majestic aura became more and more powerful. In the blink of an eye, an incomparably huge nebula vortex appeared at the peak of the void, stirring up the wind and clouds and stirring up the space and sky. The terrifying momentum, like the sea, seemed to be swallowing Chu Hen, who was below the nebula vortex at any time. At this moment, a soft and bright light emerged in the sky. In the vast sky directly in front of Chu Hen, a pair of strange purple eyes appeared. It was a pair of huge eyes, with evil purple pupils, so strange that it was like the eyes of a super-terrifying ancient demon god. The pair of purple pupils stared coldly and indifferently at Chu Hen. This feeling was like looking at a god. Chu Hen's heart was filled with fear and confusion. What was going on? Buzz, however, without waiting for Chu Hen to recover from his shock, an even stranger thing happened again. He saw that in the area behind the pair of purple eyes, a blurry chaotic world suddenly appeared. Countless stars adorned the dark void. In the blink of an eye, a vast chaotic world enveloped this space. Under Chu Hen's gaze that was filled with endless astonishment, a black figure actually faintly appeared in the hazy world behind the pair of enormous purple eyes. The black shadow was tens of thousands of feet tall, with the outline of a human. The aura he emitted was like a peerless fiend god that controlled the world. What's going on? Purple eyes? Giant black shadow? Chu Hen was completely dumbfounded. What was going on now? Boom! It was also at this moment that the pair of purple eyes suddenly erupted with a brilliant light. The purple light that was like a tide was like a flood that broke through a dam. It covered the sky and the earth as it whistled towards Chu Hen in front of him. Chu Hen's pupils shrank to the size of a needle-tip. Before he could even react, the earth-shattering purple brilliance instantly engulfed him. In the next instant, a thunderous noise exploded in all directions. Demon pupil holy body, awaken! The majestic and distant voice was like a bell that shook one's soul. The sky cleared up after the snow, and the brilliant sunlight sprinkled down on this side of the world. This was a deep mountain that was far away from the hustle and bustle of the world, and the mountain ridges that rose and fell like a river, revealing a boundless aura. On the peak of one of the mountains that was full of spirit chi, there was a large courtyard. There was a platform on the west side of the courtyard, and 9 strange stone pillars were erected at the edge of the platform. On the platform and the stone pillars, there were many mysterious and complicated divine glyphs. The divine glyphs shone with a gentle light, and from all directions, they converged on a young man lying in the center of the platform. The young man's eyes were closed, and he was in a deep sleep. Moreover, he was covered with cuts and bruises, and several long and narrow wounds covered his chest. Even the meridians in his limbs had been cut off, and the wounds on his wrists and ankles were shocking. Right above the platform, there was a gentle-looking middle-aged man who kept making complicated hand seals with his hands. Every time he completed a hand seal, the divine glyphs on the platform and the stone pillars would emit an energy wave that was a little stronger. When the middle-aged man finished the last hand seal, the body of the young man in the center of the platform shone with a demonic purple light. Then, the purple light was absorbed into the young man's body like a sponge absorbing water, and the divine glyphs on the platform and the stone pillars quickly dimmed. Phew! The middle-aged man let out a sigh of relief, and his gentle eyes looked at the young man on the platform. His lips moved slightly, and he murmured to himself, "Master said that you would have this tribulation in your life, and it has really come true. After this tribulation, I will help you awaken the demon eye bloodline, and I hope that one day, you will be able to display the shocking power of the demon eye." Buzz buzz, in the next moment, the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual energy became abnormally active, and the thick heaven and earth spiritual energy seemed to be summoned by some kind of power, like rivers flowing into the sea, and gathered in the air above the platform from different directions. Then, the thick spiritual energy fell from the sky, and poured down on the young man's body. A faint purple light was released from the young man's body, and then something amazing happened. The wounds on his body were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. His chest, wrists, ankles, all the wounds on his body were healing, and after a while, there were only faint marks left. While the meridians in the young man's body were being repaired, they were also being strengthened, and they were becoming more durable than before. Looking at this scene, the middle-aged man's face was filled with astonishment, and he murmured, "Not only did the demon eye sacred body help him repair his broken meridians, it also strengthened him quite a bit. He has just awakened, and yet he already has such power. How surprising!" As soon as he finished speaking, the last trace of heaven and earth spiritual energy in the sky was absorbed, and the young man in the center of the platform slowly opened his eyes. "Where am I?" Chu Hen looked at the unfamiliar surroundings, and his face was filled with confusion. "This is Qi Shin Mountain." A gentle voice entered his ears, and it was as harmonious as a spring breeze. Chu Hen looked at the middle-aged man behind him, and he was even more astonished. "You are?" "My name is Li Wu Shang," the middle-aged man replied. "Li Wu Shang," Chu Hen murmured. He was sure that he had never heard of this name before. Chu Hen was surprised to find that all the wounds on his body had disappeared. His wrists and ankles had all recovered. Chu Hen was astonished, and what was even more surprising was that his cultivation seemed to have increased. "You'll be able to recover in no time," Li Wu Shang said indifferently. Chu Hen was both surprised and delighted. At the same time, he couldn't help but clench his fists, and a cold light surged in his eyes. "The heavens really haven't forsaken me, Chu Hen." Even though his meridians had been reconnected, Chu Hen's trauma from what had happened before couldn't be erased in a short period of time. As a result, Li Wu Shang's emotions were still at an all-time low. Chu Hen, who was still in a state of confusion, even forgot to say, "Thank you." Li Wu Shang's eyes were filled with complicated emotions, and he immediately said, "Rest well for a few days. I'm the only one living here, you can find a room to rest." With that, Li Wu Shang left on his own. Chu Hen's heart was filled with both gratitude and confusion as he stared at the other person's back. A few days later, in a spacious area behind the mountain, Chu Hen sat cross-legged on the ground, his firm figure as still as a rock. In his lower abdomen, a ball of golden true essence spun rapidly like a cyclone. A warm stream of air gradually spread to every part of his body. Regaining the power that he had lost, allowed Chu Hen to put down the boulder in his heart. Buzz buzz. After an unknown amount of time, a pair of huge purple eyes appeared in Chu Hen's meditation consciousness. In a hazy, dark world, a pair of purple eyes gazed down emotionlessly at the world in the boundless sky. Buzz buzz. At this moment, the purple eyes released a soft halo, like a purple sun hanging high in the sky. In the next instant, Chu Hen clearly felt that there was a strange and powerful energy within his body. This power fused with his true essence and flowed through Chu Hen's 8 extraordinary meridians. Just at this moment, a vast and majestic aura suddenly surged over. In the area behind the pair of purple eyes, the sky was in a mess and the stars were moving. Then, an incomparably huge black figure appeared in the chaotic world. This black figure seemed to be tens of thousands of meters tall, and its outer appearance was that of a human. It was like an unparalleled god standing in this world. This is... Buzz buzz buzz. In the next moment, Chu Hen suddenly woke up. At the same time, he felt a stabbing pain in his eyes. Chu Hen hurriedly ran to the nearby lake and looked down at his reflection in the water. He was shocked to find that his eyes had turned a demonic purple. On his handsome face, there was a pair of demonic purple pupils, which made him look so demonic and charming. But very quickly, the stabbing pain in his eyes disappeared, and the purple light faded. Chu Hen's eyes returned to their normal pitch-black color. Looks like you can't control the power of the demon eyes on your own. A familiar voice rang out. Chu Hen was startled, only to see that Li Wuxiang had unknowingly appeared a dozen meters away. Don't be surprised. Li Wuxiang put his hands behind his back and walked slowly toward Chu Hen. I helped you awaken this demon eye's sacred body. What? Chu Hen was even more surprised. At the same time, he looked at him in astonishment. What did you say? Saint's sacred body? The demon eyes are the bloodline limit of a sacred body? That's right, it's not just a sacred body. Li Wuxiang paused, then his throat moved as he said softly, it's also one of the 10 strongest sacred bodies in the world. Boom. Hearing this, Chu Hen's ears seemed to have been struck by lightning. All sorts of disbelief appeared on his face. Bloodline limit. This was a powerful body that was different from ordinary people and had special powers. For example, people with the body of lightning could control the power of lightning and gather the power of thousands of lightning bolts to destroy everything. People with the body of stars could absorb the power of the stars in the sky to increase their cultivation level and use the power of the stars to greatly increase their combat power. Those who possessed the Liger body had the strength of over 10,000 jin and could easily tear people into pieces. It could be said that in Wu Xiu's path, there were 2 major factors that determined his future achievements. First, his own talent. Second, the strength of the bloodline limit. And there were 2 reasons why Wu Xiu was given the bloodline limit. One was the ancestral bloodline inheritance. The special bloodline of parents or grandparents or even ancestors would be passed on to their descendant. But it was also possible that the power of the bloodline limit would gradually weaken and eventually disappear. The other was that Wu Xiu's own body had mutated and given birth to a new bloodline limit. This kind of mutation could be divided into congenital mutation and acquired mutation. The former was a change in the body in the mother's womb, while the latter was a change in the environment in which he grew up. The strength of the bloodline limit determined Wu Xiu's starting point. Geniuses without the bloodline limit and geniuses with the bloodline limit might be able to reach the same height in the future. But with the same talent, qualifications, and effort. The time spent by geniuses with the bloodline limit would definitely be far less than those without the bloodline limit. Of course, the body of the bloodline limit was also divided into levels. Ordinary people called it the mortal body. For example, Lu Xiao, the head of the 4 geniuses of Shaozong College, had the body of lion strength, which belonged to the martial body. In the Sacred Star dynasty, geniuses with the martial body belonged to the group that was sought after. And above the martial body there was the battle body, the mystic body, and the legendary sacred body. The stronger the bloodline limit, the higher the future achievements. Of course, in the process of cultivation on the road of martial arts, the level of the bloodline limit could also be completed according to one's own strength, situation, and various external factors to complete the transformation and upgrade. It was just that the process was unimaginably dangerous and difficult. Chu Hen really couldn't believe that the bloodline limit he had was the legendary sacred body. This was simply too unexpected. Seeing that the other party didn't seem to be joking, Chu Hen clenched his fists and asked in a deep voice, "Who are you? Why do you want to help me?" "It's simple." Li Wuxiang's mouth curved into a faint smile. His throat moved up and down, and he softly spat out a sentence. "Because we have the same eyes, what?" As soon as he finished speaking, a strange wave of power was suddenly released from Li Wuxiang's body. Then, his pupils turned into a demonic purple. Chapter 3. Because we have the same eyes, this. Looking at Li Wuxiang's bewitching purple eyes, Chu Hen's eyes widened and his face turned deathly pale. "You also have the sacred demonic pupil body?" Li Wuxiang smiled and focused his gaze. The purple light in his eyes dissipated and they returned to their normal color. "Yes. What a coincidence. Then between you and me?" Chu Hen's eyes flashed with seriousness. Li Wuxiang hesitated for a bit and then smiled. "Don't think too much about it. This world is vast and boundless. There's nothing strange about 2 people with demon eyes accidentally meeting each other. I happened to pass by Fire Rain City that day and sensed the power of the demon eye bloodline in your body, so I saved you." "So that's how it is." Chu Hen started to ponder. Li Wuxiang's eyes flashed with a hint of complexity, and then he said, "This is fate. I'll teach you how to control the power of the demon eye." Chu Hen was pleasantly surprised. "Thank you, senior." Li Wuxiang nodded slightly and said, "It's the same as any bloodline limit in the world. No matter how strong the saint body, no matter how strong a sacred body is, it needs one's own cultivation as a foundation. Otherwise, no matter how strong the bloodline is, it won't be able to unleash the power it should have. For example, there's not much difference between a sacred body and a martial body. The power of the sacred demonic pupil body is in the aspect of eye technique. As you learn to control the power of the demon eye, the power of the sacred body will become stronger and stronger. The sacred demonic pupil body is divided into 9 stages, from 1 star to 9 stars. The lowest is 1 star and the highest is 9 stars. Every time you break through, the demon eye will give you new power. The 9-star demon eye has extremely terrifying power. Li Wuxiang paused and said to Chu Hen, "Your bloodline power has just awakened. You haven't even reached 1 star, so the power of the sacred body is very weak. I can only grasp the most basic ocular technique, but even the most basic ocular technique is still a power that makes people gasp in awe." Basic eye techniques? Chu Hen's face was filled with anticipation. "Try using the demon eye's power again," said Li Wuxiang. Chu Hen nodded and slowly closed his eyes. Then, he started to circulate the primordial qi in his body. Accompanied by a slight burning sensation in his eyes, Chu Hen opened his eyes. His previously clear and pitch-black pupils immediately turned into a demonic light purple. A look of approval appeared on Li Wuxiang's face as he said, "Look closely at what I'm doing." "Do what?" Chu Hen was startled and looked at him in confusion. The space in front of him seemed to twist. Chu Hen's purple pupils constricted. In that instant, the structure of Li Wuxiang's meridians appeared in his mind. I saw all the major meridians in your body. What else? Li Wuxiang asked. Also, Chu Hen's eyes narrowed as he subconsciously blurted out, You're mobilizing your quintessential essence and gathering it in your left hand. Very good. Whoosh! As soon as Li Wuxiang said that, Chu Hen's body trembled. The demon eye's power quickly retreated, and the demonic purple pupil returned to its normal black color. To the current Chu Hen, this was his limit. What was that just now? Li Wuxiang smiled and explained, The demon eye can see the direction of another person's primordial qi and determine what move they're going to use in the next second. If I were your opponent, I would have gathered my primordial qi in my left hand and attacked you from the left. However, you, who have the demon eye, can already see what I'm going to do. You can defend in advance, break it, and counterattack. With Chu Hen's understanding of cultivation, how could he not know how important it was to know what the opponent's next move would be? Often, when fighting with an opponent of the same level, he would lose because he couldn't guess what the opponent's next move would be. The demon eye could see the direction of the opponent's primordial qi and predict the next move. This ability was simply amazing. In addition to being able to see through the direction of the opponent's true essence, the power of the demon pupil can also double the lethality of the martial skill displayed. The higher the level of the demon pupil, the stronger the martial skill's power will be. Listening to Li Wuxiang's explanation, Chu Hen sighed in amazement. This was only the most basic eye technique. The legendary demon eye bloodline, one of the 10 most powerful sacred bodies, truly lived up to its name. What kind of power would the higher levels of the demon eye have? When your demon eye sacred body reaches 1 star, it will bestow you with the power of nirvana. This technique is extremely destructive when it shoots out of your eyes. The power of the 2-star demonic pupil's nirvana force has increased exponentially. It can also see what others are thinking. However, this technique should be used cautiously against opponents who are much stronger than you. 3-star demon eye. Chu Hen listened very carefully to Li Wuxiang's explanation, not letting go of any details. After more than an hour, Li Wuxiang finally taught Chu Hen the main characteristics of the demon eye sacred body, as well as the basic method of using it. As one of the 4 geniuses of Shaozong College, Chu Hen's talent and comprehension were very outstanding. He quickly accepted what Li Wuxiang was teaching. The limits of a sacred body's bloodline are indeed broad and profound. Chu Hen sighed from the bottom of his heart. After digesting these new and important things, Chu Hen asked casually, Senior Li, what is the strongest bloodline in this world? Li Wuxiang smiled, his eyes filled with a bit of heat and respect. The strongest bloodline in this world is the chaotic divine body. Chaotic divine body? As soon as he heard the word chaotic, Chu Hen couldn't help but think of the scene he'd just seen in his meditation state. The world was chaotic, and behind the huge purple demon I was a 30,000-meter tall black figure. That black figure gave Chu Hen a strange feeling. He vaguely felt that the black figure didn't seem to be the power of the demon eye sacred body. Seeing Chu Hen's slightly confused expression, Li Wuxiang didn't think much about it. He continued, I know very little about the chaotic divine body. In this world, there hasn't been a chaotic divine body for over 10,000 years. This kind of strongest bloodline boundary can be said to have completely disappeared. Chu Hen was startled. The chaotic divine body disappeared? That's right. With the passage of time, there are no more chaotic divine bodies in this world. Li Wuxiang's tone was a bit regretful and yearning. I don't know much about the characteristics of the chaotic divine body. I only know that the chaotic divine body is compatible with all the powers in the world. Compatible with all the powers in the world? Yes. Li Wuxiang nodded. Chaos gives birth to all things, and the chaotic divine body can also extract the power of all things. As for how strong the chaotic divine body is, that's not something we can guess. I've only heard that the chaotic divine body can resist all powers. At its strongest, it can break the sky with one hand and destroy the world with a flick of the finger. Break the sky with one hand and destroy the world with a flick of the finger. Chu Hen had a look of amazement on his face. This was probably the lifelong wish of anyone who pursued the peak of martial Tao. After thinking about it for a moment, Chu Hen asked again, "Senior Li, then in this world, is there anyone who has two different bloodlines?" "There are all sorts of strange things in this world," Li Wuxiang gave a pertinent answer. However, such cases are extremely rare. Even among 10,000 geniuses who have crossed the bloodline boundary, there might not be one with two constitutions. Chu Hen let out a light breath. His eyes narrowed as he fell into deep thought. "That's all for today. You can follow the method I taught you to practice controlling the demon eye's power. If there's anything else you don't understand, you can ask me directly." Li Wuxiang's tone was gentle. Chu Hen slightly nodded his head as a gesture. "Thank you, Senior." Li Wuxiang raised his hand and turned to leave. Very quickly, only Chu Hen was left. The quiet and secluded environment gradually calmed the restless emotions in his heart. So what if he had a martial body? So what if he had a saint body? Just as Li Wuxiang said, even the strongest bloodline needed one's own cultivation as a foundation. If the foundation wasn't good, then having a saint body was useless. If the strength wasn't good enough, then a martial body could kill a saint body. Chu Hen immediately calmed all the distracting thoughts in his mind and started to follow the method Li Wuxiang taught him to control and communicate with the demon eye's power. "I, Chu Hen, swear not to be a weakling. This time, I won't let anyone trample on my dignity as a man." One day, he would be able to perfectly control and display the bloodline power of the demon pupil holy body. Chapter 4. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, Chu Hen had been at Qishan Mountain for more than a month. During this period, Chu Hen could use the power of the demon eye with Li Wuxiang's help. The two would often communicate with each other, not only about the demon eye sacred body, but also about other martial arts. Chu Hen would also ask Li Wuxiang for advice. Li Wuxiang was also very willing to explain to Chu Hen. After these days of interaction, the last bit of defense in Chu Hen's heart disappeared. But because of what happened before, there was almost no smile on Chu Hen's face. Beside the lake at the back of the mountain, Chu Hen sat on a 3-meter-wide rock like an old monk meditating. At the position of the dantian in his lower abdomen, a cluster of powerful true essence swirled rapidly. The aura emitted from Chu Hen's body fluctuated between strong and weak, as if there was a power continuously surging within his body. Buzz! Suddenly, the surrounding airflow became abnormally chaotic. In the next moment, Chu Hen's aura suddenly broke through the original highest limit and stepped into a new height. A formless wave of air swept out from Chu Hen's body. The dead branches and leaves on the ground were immediately sent flying in all directions. Then, Chu Hen slowly opened his eyes and spat out a murky breath. A bright light flashed in his eyes. "I finally broke through to the 7th stage of Meridian Opening Realm. The path of martial arts cultivation began with refining the body, opening the meridian and entering the martial arts, then the essence opening realm, origin condensation realm, core formation realm. Flying through the air, any martial artist would build their foundation by refining their body and qi. Only when the body reached a certain strength could they open the main martial meridians in the body. There were 9 main martial meridians in the human body. Every time a martial meridian was opened, the strength of the true essence in the body would multiply. Moreover, the true essence could flow unimpeded in the martial meridian, and the explosive power would be even greater. After successfully opening the first martial meridian, one would step into the meridian opening realm. There were 9 ranks in the meridian opening realm. When all 9 main meridians were opened, one would be at the 9th rank. At that time, the true essence would flow unimpeded through the 9 main meridians, and he would be able to break through to a higher level, the elemental opening realm. Opening the main meridians might seem simple, but the difficulty of cultivating it was extremely high. At the meridian opening level, one had to slowly cultivate on their own. During this process, if it wasn't handled properly, it was very likely that his meridians would be torn and he would be injured. Chu Hen's previous cultivation was at the peak of the 6th level of the meridian opening realm. Among his peers in the entire Flaming Rain City, he could definitely be called an outstanding existence. As for the head of the 4 great geniuses of Shaozong College, Lu Xiao, he was even stronger. He was at the 7th level of the channel opening realm. Coupled with his lion power martial physique, he was given the title of the #1 young elite in the city this year. Now, Chu Hen had also successfully opened his 7th martial vein. In terms of cultivation level, he was no longer inferior to Lu Xiao. According to the original estimate, it would take me another 2 months to enter the 7th level of the channel opening realm. The demonic pupil sacred physique is indeed powerful. Chu Hen muttered to himself softly. Then, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Lu Xiao, I will soon get back what you owe me with interest. Chu Hen slightly calmed down the undulating emotions in his heart. Without any rest, he began to mobilize the true essence in his body to practice the control of the demonic pupil's power. He had already left Flaming Rain City for more than a month. There were less than 2 months left to the assessment for the new students of Tifeng Province, one of the top 5 martial academies in the imperial capital. In the following time, Chu Hen must quickly master the power of the demonic pupil sacred physique. Buzz buzz. After a while, Chu Hen entered into a meditative cultivation state. The restless true essence flowed in his body. A wisp of demonic purple light diffused from his body. With Chu Hen as the center, it formed a purple cyclone that rotated rapidly. The surrounding airflow became a lot more chaotic. Fallen leaves flew up and dust filled the air. Soon, Chu Hen connected with the power of the demonic pupil sacred physique through his meditation consciousness world. At the top of the dim and vast sky, a pair of huge purple demonic pupils hung in the sky, showing a demonic and demonic aura. Chu Hen carefully communicated with the power of the demonic pupil sacred physique. Compared to the beginning when he did not understand anything, the current Chu Hen could skillfully integrate the power of the demonic pupil's bloodline with his own true essence. However, not long after Chu Hen sensed the power of the demonic pupil sacred physique, a turbulent and earth-shattering force suddenly attacked. In an instant, in the void behind the demonic pupil, the world was in chaos, and the sky was full of stars. A vast and boundless chaos world appeared, and within that chaos world, an incomparably huge black shadow suddenly appeared in the sky of the Chaos Galaxy. The black shadow was tens of thousands of feet tall, and its outline was in the shape of a human, like a peerless demon standing in this world. It's this weird black shadow again, Chu Hen was shocked. This time, he clearly felt that there was a difference between this black shadow and the power of the demonic pupil sacred physique. This was definitely a different kind of power. Is there really 2 different bloodline boundaries in my body? Chu Hen was surprised and suspicious. After thinking for a while, he tried to detect the huge black shadow as if he was communicating with the power of the demonic pupil sacred physique. Boom! Just as Chu Hen touched the black shadow, in the next second, a particularly violent force suddenly filled his body. The spiritual ether in Chu Hen's body was like a torrent that broke through a dam, constantly flowing into every part of his body. This strange power not only integrated the power of the spiritual ether, but also did not have any conflict with the demonic pupil sacred physique. However, Chu Hen soon found that things were not as simple as he thought. The power of the strange black shadow and the power of the demonic pupil sacred physique instantly filled up his body, and Chu Hen only felt a swelling pain in his meridians. Under the fusion of these two forces, it was as if his body was going to shatter and break through. Not good. Chu Hen was shocked and suddenly realized that he could not even freely control the demonic pupil sacred physique, let alone provoke another unknown power at the same time. Immediately, Chu Hen quickly cut off the connection between the two forces and returned to the state of meditation cultivation. However, just a second after cutting off the power of the demonic pupil sacred physique, the other strange power did not obediently subside. Buzz. In the next moment, a black brilliance surged out of Chu Hen's body and shrouded his body, like the strange devil flame black fire. Chu Hen clenched his fists, and the blue veins on his arms and neck popped out. He clenched his teeth and forced this power out. Buzz! Suddenly, two sharp lights flashed in Chu Hen's eyes, and then a thick black halo spread out from his body. Bang! With a heavy muffled sound, the 3-meter-wide rock under Chu Hen suddenly shattered, and the crisscrossed cracks spread wantonly like a spider web. What was even more shocking was that the deep cracks extended along the rock to a place nearly 5 meters below the ground, which was really shocking. This is? Chu Hen, who had yet to completely recover from his shock, was completely stupefied by the scene in front of him. This was caused by him just now? Chu Hen was particularly shocked to see the countless pieces of rock under him and the cracks on the ground. This level of destructive power was definitely not something that Wu Xiu, who was at the 7th level of the channel opening realm, could achieve. And this power did not originate from the demonic pupil sacred physique. In that case, there really is a boundary between two bloodlines in my body. With regards to this discovery, Chu Hen was surprised and happy, but at the same time, he was at a loss. If this kind of thing were to spread out, what kind of sensation would it cause? He did not dare to imagine. And he did not need to think to know that once this matter was spread out, he would definitely be killed. After being excited, Chu Hen's mood gradually calmed down. Just now, he wanted to ask Li Wushang, but on second thought, he still rejected that idea. It was not that Chu Hen did not trust Li Wushang, but for Chu Hen, who had just experienced the ups and downs of life, great sorrow and great joy, it was not as simple as he thought. This world was not as simple as he thought it was. Even those who were close friends with you today might stab you in the back tomorrow. Chu Hen felt that no matter who he faced, he needed to have a secret of his own. Without a doubt, having two different bloodline powers was definitely the biggest secret that only he knew. Chu Hen narrowed his eyes, and that huge black figure appeared in his mind. This was definitely another kind of boundary between bloodlines, although if he asked Li Wushang, he might be able to quickly find out what kind of physique it was. But comparatively speaking, Chu Hen hoped that he could unveil this veil step by step in the future. What kind of physique would it be? Chu Hen muttered to himself. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said in surprise, "Before I figure it out, I'll call you the chaotic body for now." Chaotic body. The inspiration for this name came from the chaotic divine body that had disappeared for tens of thousands of years. Furthermore, every time that towering black shadow appeared, Chu Hen would be able to sense the vast and majestic primal chaos starry sky. Of course, Chu Hen did not dare to link the boundary between his bloodline and the chaotic divine body. To him, it was just a name and a yearning in his heart. The power of the chaotic body could encompass all things. It could destroy the heavens with a single hand and destroy the world with a flick of a finger. This could be said to be the yearning and dream of every person who pursued the peak of martial arts. The young and hot-blooded Chu Hen also yearned for this. As a result, he named his unknown bloodline boundary with the chaotic body as a form of sustenance. Chaotic body, Chu Hen muttered to himself. He liked this name more and more. Although he did not know what grade of bloodline boundary the chaotic body belonged to, the destructive power it had displayed earlier should have surpassed the martial body and surpassed the battle body. Whatever, I'll slowly study the power of the chaotic body in the future. Chu Hen clenched his fists, and a resplendent light flickered through his eyes. No matter what, from today onwards, the fact that he possessed two bloodlines would be his greatest secret. Before he had the ability to keep this secret, he definitely could not mention it to anyone. There's still over a month. Fire of Rain City. Chapter 5. Spring equinox and summer solstice, everything flourished. The secluded back mountain of the Qishan mountain was already filled with colorful mountain flowers. In an open area beside the lake, Chu Hen was practicing a set of exquisite fist technique. A powerful aura constantly leaked out from Chu Hen's body. The airflow within a radius of a dozen or so meters became chaotic and hurried. The dead branches and leaves on the ground danced in the air. Chu Hen's fist technique was like a tiger that gave birth to the wind. It was as smooth as flowing water. Within the elegance, it was mixed with a hidden force. It was agile and did not lack the fierceness. The powerful fist energy constantly set off layers of air waves, layer after layer, showing its great power. Buzz! Suddenly, Chu Hen's aura suddenly rose and a cold glint flashed from the corner of his fierce eyes. His right fist, which was wrapped in quintessential origin energy, smashed down on the ground with the force of 1,000 caddies. Dark astral fist. Boom! Along with Chu Hen's silent shout, the astonishing power of the fist firmly poured down. The ground shook incessantly, and densely packed cracks spread out in all directions like a spider web. The rubble on the ground flew everywhere, and the pebbles and dust of all sizes were like startled moths, bursting out in all directions. Dust flew and mud splashed in all directions. Chu Hen retracted his true essence, and between his brows, there was a look of surprise and joy. I never thought that the chaotic body would have such an ability. The toughness of my body, tendons, and bones are much stronger than 2 months ago. Chu Hen looked at his hands and murmured softly. More than a month ago, Chu Hen unexpectedly discovered that in addition to his demon pupil sacred body, he also had another mysterious bloodline boundary. After naming the bloodline as the chaotic body, Chu Hen used the power of the sacred monstrous eye body with Li Wushang's help during the day. At night, he tried to use the bloodline power of the chaotic body alone. After careful research, he found out that the chaotic body could strengthen his body in all aspects. With the increase in the strength of his physical body, the might of the martial techniques he executed was also greater than before. And this is only the power of the early stages of the chaotic body. I really wonder what it will be like when it reaches the later stages. There was a hint of anticipation in Chu Hen's eyes. Not long after awakening, he was able to perfect his physical body and greatly increase his strength. This was an ability that even the demon pupil holy body at this stage did not have. Of course, the strength of the demon eye bloodline was mostly reflected in the aspect of eye technique. Based on Chu Hen's current understanding, it was clear that the demon pupil holy body had an even more fascinating power. In any case, Chu Hen knew that he still had a long way to go in the future. Whether or not he could show the real power of the holy body in the future, there was still a long process. Looks like you've recovered well. At this moment, Li Wushang's gentle laughter rang out. Chu Hen turned around and saw the man with his hands behind his back, walking steadily towards him. Senior Li. Chu Hen walked up and cupped his fists, bowing slightly. Li Wushang roughly scanned the surroundings that were destroyed by Chu Hen, his face more or less flabbergasted. It hasn't even been 3 months and you're already able to use the power of the demon pupil to this degree. Your talent is not bad. Not bad. Chu Hen touched his nose, a little embarrassed. Speaking of which, when he was at Shaozong College, he had never heard the words, not bad. Basically, they were all praises like extraordinary talent, extremely high aptitude, outstanding, and so on. But thinking about it, it was easy to understand. An otherworldly master like Li Wushang had seen a lot of monstrous geniuses. His words of not bad was already an extremely high evaluation. This is all thanks to Senior's guidance. Li Wushang smiled faintly. Before he could speak, Chu Hen continued, "Senior, you've come at the right time. I was just about to go find you." Li Wuxiang had a questioning look on his face. Chu Hen let out a deep breath, then said solemnly, "Senior, I'll leave Qi Shin Mountain tomorrow." Li Wuxiang wasn't surprised at all by what Chu Hen said. He hesitated for a moment, then said, "According to your current progress, you can break through to the one-star demon eye in 3 months. Are you sure you don't want to leave after that?" "Thank you for your good intentions, Senior." Chu Hen didn't even think about it before declining. His cold eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. "In a few days, it'll be the Tifeng Province's examination. I've prepared for this day for 3 years. Also, those people who harmed me, I must make them pay for that." Li Wuxiang's eyes narrowed. With Chu Hen's talent, which martial house wouldn't fight for him? However, what happened before had already left a knot in Chu Hen's heart. If he didn't untie this knot, it would have a significant impact on Chu Hen's future cultivation. Li Wuxiang didn't try to persuade him anymore. Getting to know each other is fate. "I have something to give you." As Li Wuxiang spoke, he took out a jade slip. "This is?" Only those who possess the Demon Eyes bloodline can read the martial skills and cultivation methods in this jade slip. However, most of the martial skills and cultivation techniques contained restrictions. You can only read them after your cultivation has broken through to the corresponding level. Li Wuxiang handed the jade slip to Chu Hen. Holding the thick jade slip in his hand, Chu Hen's heart had indescribable gratefulness. Saving his life, clearing his doubts, teaching him skills, and giving him treasures, Chu Hen clenched his fists, then knelt to express his thanks. "Junior thanks Senior's great kindness. Chu Hen will definitely engrave Senior's kindness in my heart. If there is a day in the future, I will definitely repay it. Please rise." Li Wuxiang helped Chu Hen up from the ground and smiled warmly. "We'll meet again in the future." After saying that, Li Wuxiang raised his left hand. A bright speck of golden light flickered on the tip of his index finger. Li Wuxiang casually flicked it, and the speck of golden light entered Chu Hen's forehead like a firefly. "Senior, you?" Chu Hen looked at him in confusion. "This is a seal I specially set for your demon eye sacred body. When you use the power of the demon eye normally, the color of your eyes won't change too much. Do you understand what I mean?" "Junior understands." Chu Hen nodded his head seriously and agreed. "Junior will definitely not tell anyone about Demon Eye's bloodline limit and you. You're very smart." Li Wuxiang looked impressed. "The Demon Eye sacred body is very important. If news of you possessing the Demon Eye bloodline gets out, you'll never have a day of peace. You should know this." "Yes." "Then rest well today and go down the mountain tomorrow morning." Li Wuxiang waved his sleeves, showing off the demeanor of an otherworldly master. "Thank you, Senior." Even though they'd only known each other for less than 3 months, Chu Hen's gratitude towards Li Wuxiang wasn't something that could be expressed in a few words. Just this life-saving grace was enough for Chu Hen to remember for the rest of his life. At night, after sharing dinner with Li Wuxiang and having a pleasant conversation, Chu Hen returned to his room. Looking at the room that he'd lived in for nearly 3 months, Chu Hen's mood was a little heavy. At the same time, thinking about the things and people he'd face when he returned to Flame City tomorrow, a cold light flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. Then, Chu Hen didn't lie down to rest. Instead, he took out the jade slip that Li Wuxiang gave him. Holding the jade slip in the palm of his hand, he felt a comforting feeling of solidity. "It's still a few days' journey from Qi Shin Mountain to Flame City. I can study martial arts while I'm on the way." After speaking, Chu Hen opened up the jade scroll. However, he saw that the jade scroll was completely blank. There were no words at all. With a thought, Chu Hen mobilized the power of the demon pupil within his body. A faint burning sensation surged into his eyes, and Chu Hen's pupils immediately flashed with an obscure purple luster. Just like what Li Wuxiang said before, the seal he set could change the color of the demon eye. Unless someone stared at Chu Hen's eyes at a close distance, they would only be able to see a faint purple light. Under normal circumstances, it would be hard to be noticed. Of course, this seal wouldn't have any effect on the power of the demon eye sacred body. Buzz buzz. At this moment, the blank jade slip in front of Chu Hen emitted a strange power fluctuation. Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly, and he quickly injected a trace of consciousness into the jade slip. Boom! Chu Hen only felt a flash of white light, and his consciousness was pulled by some kind of power. In the next instant, in front of Chu Hen's eyes, a peculiar ball of light floated. The light was about the size of a fist, and it was divided into two colors. Most of them were red, and only a few were gold. Chu Hen understood that every ball of light represented a martial skill or cultivation method. He could only cultivate the martial arts techniques that were gold in color. As for those martial skills and cultivation methods that emitted red light, they could only be obtained when one's cultivation had reached a corresponding level. Chu Hen sighed to himself. Senior Li is really thoughtful. Without any delay, Chu Hen flashed toward the two golden light balls closest to him. The second he touched the two light balls, two different pieces of information appeared in Chu Hen's mind. Big Dipper roaming dragon steps, a movement technique derived from the arrangement of the Big Dipper 7 stars. Move around the 7 stars, and be as agile as a swimming dragon. Great mastery, come and go like the wind and be like a ghost. Great Waterfall Mountain Destroying Palm, a palm technique that combines strength and softness. Gather the power of true essence in both palms and strike in an instant. There's softness in the hardness, and the external force is mixed with hidden force. It's hard to defend against. Receiving the information in his mind, Chu Hen was even more surprised. The martial arts techniques that Senior Li Wushang gave him were really extraordinary. For example, the Great Waterfall Mountain Destroying Palm was definitely better than the strongest martial arts technique that he had mastered, the 7 Kill Dark Aura Fist. Chu Hen's heart was filled with anticipation. What level of martial arts techniques were those flashing red light balls? After slightly calming his restless heart, Chu Hen immediately chose the 2 martial arts techniques, the Big Dipper roaming dragon steps and the Great Waterfall Mountain Destroying Palm. Although there were only a few days until the Tifeng province's assessment, Chu Hen was still confident that he could master them with his extraordinary talent. Moreover, there were 2 bloodline powers, the demonic pupil sacred body and the chaotic power. The night flew by. In the early morning, the morning mist in the forest was bone-chilling. Senior Li, Chu Hen will take his leave now. If I have time in the future, I will definitely come back to visit. Go. We will meet again if fate allows it. On the bluestone-paved path down the mountain, Chu Hen's figure gradually went further and further away. Li Wushang looked at the gradually blurring figure of the young man, and his deep eyes surged with indescribable complexity. Chapter 6. After 3 months, the Blazing Rain City finally welcomed the long-awaited assessment of Tifeng Province. In the past, if the younger generation of the Blazing Rain City wanted to enter the famous martial academies, they had to go to the Imperial City to participate in the assessment. However, this year, Tifeng Province personally came to recruit students. This was a glorious event for the entire Blazing Rain City. What was even more surprising was that Tifeng Province was holding the assessment at the Yi family. Moreover, it was at the birthday banquet of the young lady of the Yi family, Yiyu. That's amazing! I didn't expect the Yi family to be related to Tifeng Province, one of the 5 major academies of the Sacred Star Empire. Is the era where the Yi family leads the Blazing Rain City coming soon? Maybe. Whoever climbs onto the big tree of Tifeng Province will naturally prosper in the future. Let's go to the Yi family and join in the fun. Let's see how many young geniuses from Shaozong College can successfully enter Tifeng Province. The 4 geniuses can definitely do it. You're wrong. It's the 3 geniuses. I'm sorry. One of them is a cripple. Amidst the uproar and excitement, The birthday banquet of the young lady of the Yi family, Yi Yu, quietly began. When it was close to noon, the Yi family was already full of guests. As one of the top families in the blazing rain city, the Yi family had an extremely high reputation in the city. In the luxuriously decorated and spacious Yi family mansion, a brand new red carpet was laid directly from the entrance of the Yi family to the front yard. In order to cater to the assessment of Tifeng province, the Yi family specially renovated the front yard into a wide platform. In the center of the platform, there was a square platform with a length and width of more than 50 meters. It was majestic and grand. In the mansion, there was a boiling cauldron of voices, and it was extremely lively. And in the direction of the central platform, there was also a magnificent grandstand. On the viewing platform, 4 figures with extraordinary bearings were sitting on comfortable wide chairs. At a glance, only these 4 people were qualified to sit on it. Have the leaders of the Lu family, the Liang family, and Xiaozongdin arrived? How rare! It has been a long time since the big shots of Flaming Rain City gathered together. I think it's mostly because of Tifeng province. The crowd below the stage discussed animatedly, and each of them revealed a look of awe. The one sitting on the far left was the head of the Liang family, Liang Hui. He was about 40 years old. His hands were placed flat on both sides of the wide chair, and his expression was especially calm. Beside Liang Hui was a middle-aged man in a long robe. The man's eyes were deep, and it was obvious that he was not an ordinary person. He was the head of the Lu family, Lu Xian. As for the one on the far right, it was an old man in his 50s or 60s. He was spinning 2 iron balls in his palm at a constant speed, giving off a steady feeling that he was as steady as a mountain. He was the dean of Shaozong College, Qing Shi. And among the 4 of them, the handsome middle-aged man sitting in the middle was the head of the Yi family, Yi Qing. Yi Qing sat on the wide chair with a faint smile on his face. To Yi Qing, today's event was not as simple as his beloved daughter, Yi Yu's birthday. The guests had arrived and the firecrackers were fired. The jubilant atmosphere enveloped every corner of the Yi family. However, at this moment, the most eye-catching people were not the 3 heads of the family and dean of Shaozong College, but the 2 young men who sat on the seats of the Lu family and the Liang family respectively. Senior brother Lu Xiao is so handsome. Senior brother Liang Yiming is also very cold. Among the geniuses of Shaozong College, I admire both of them the most. Many girls around them looked at the 2 as if they were infatuated. As the number 1 genius of Shaozong this year, Lu Xiao was the center of attention no matter where he went. He was high-spirited and full of arrogance. Liang Yiming's appearance was cold and unsmiling. His aloof temperament was like that of a prairie eagle. Miss Yi Yu is coming out, suddenly. A chaotic commotion broke out below the stage, and everyone's gazes swept towards the same place in unison. Under all kinds of envious gazes, a young, elegant, and noble lady walked out from the inner courtyard of the Yi family. Miss Yi Yu is so beautiful today. Nonsense, Miss Yi Yu has always been beautiful. Congratulations, Miss Yi Yu, on your birthday. As the eldest daughter of the Yi family and one of the 4 geniuses of Shaozong College, Yi Yu was very popular. Yi Yu, on the other hand, was extremely popular. Moreover, it was her 16th birthday. Her appearance on the stage immediately gave people a breathtaking feeling. You heir, come and pay your respects to the 2 patriarchs and the dean, the patriarch of the Yi family said with a faint smile. The corners of Yi Yu's mouth were brimming with a moving smile. She walked gently to the spectators' stand and bowed politely. Yi Yu greets Uncle Lu, Uncle Liang and Uncle Dean. Niece Yu heir, you don't have to be so courteous, Lu Xian said with a smile as he slightly raised his hand. Little Yu heir. Dean Qing Shi of Shaozong waved his hand and said, Come here, I have a present for you. As soon as he finished speaking, Qing Shi took out an exquisite brocade box. When the brocade box was opened, a fragrance that seeped into one's heart, and a dark red pill instantly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Origin bone pill. Yi Qing raised his brows and could not help but blurt out. When they heard the 3 words, origin bone pill, the surrounding people's faces all revealed astonished expressions. Qing Shi's eyes narrowed slightly as a trace of a proud smile appeared on his face. Little you err, this origin bone pill is enough for you to break through to the natal opening stage within half a year. You must work hard. Yi Yu was extremely happy. Thank you for your kindness, Uncle Dean. You err will definitely not disappoint you. Haha, good. Under the countless envious gazes below the stage, Yi Yu received the origin bone pill from Qing Shi and stood beside the patriarch of the Yi family, Yi Qing. At this moment, Lu Xiao, who was not far away, walked to her side and said with a faint smile with some interest. Eldest Miss Yi Yu, that cripple did not come looking for you again, right? Yi Yu's eyebrows lightly knitted together as she indifferently replied, What do you think? Lu Xiao laughed proudly. A cripple with broken arms and legs will most likely not be able to climb through the gates of the Yi family. The festive and lively atmosphere continued to heat up. As for the second miss of the Yi family, Yi Yao, who was standing at the side, her heart was filled with melancholy. Her eyes were especially complicated as she looked at her elder sister, Yi Yu, who was like the moon surrounded by stars. Big brother Chuhen, where are you? Yi Yao lightly bit her red lips as her pretty little face was filled with worry. Very quickly, all the famous people in the Flame of Rain City had basically arrived at the Yi family. Only the patriarch of the general's mansion, Long Zhan, did not come. The general's mansion will definitely not come. That cripple, Chuhen, did such a shameful thing and completely lost the face of the general's mansion. Even if the patriarch of the Long Zhan comes, he will only be asking to be humiliated. That's right, haha. The general's mansion that everyone was talking about was also a big force in the Flame of Rain City. Moreover, Chu Hen had been adopted by the general's mansion since he was young. Originally, the patriarch of the general's mansion, Long Zhan, should be present on such an occasion. However, not only did the patriarch of the Long Zhan not come, no one from the general's mansion was present. The reason for this was naturally because of Chu Hen. Currently, in the eyes of the entire Flame of Rain City, Chu Hen was just like a disgraceful cripple. Screech, suddenly, a loud and passionate eagle's cry reverberated in the sky above the Yi family. Everyone present was shocked and raised their heads to look at the sky. Everyone's pupils shrank as they saw a majestic and domineering giant white eagle piercing through the clouds in front of them. This giant eagle was snow white without a single discolored feather. When it spread its wings, it was 100 meters wide. It moved like a ray of light, attracting the power of wind and thunder. The aura that it emitted directly suppressed everyone present. It's a level 9 spiritual beast, the white sharp eagle. A gasp of surprise came from the crowd below. It seems that the people from Tifeng province have arrived. How imposing! Riding a level 9 spiritual beast, Tifeng province is indeed worthy of its name. The patriarch of the Yi family, Yi Qing, the patriarch of the Lu family, Lu Xian, the patriarch of the Liang family, Liang Hui, and the dean of the Shaozong University, Qing Shi, all stood up at the same time and looked at the majestic white sharp eagle with a solemn and expectant expression. Together with the giant black shadow that was moving rapidly on the ground of the Flame of Rain City, the white sharp eagle arrived in the sky above the Yi family in the blink of an eye. On the back of the white sharp eagle, there were more than 20 fierce figures with extraordinary auras. The leader was a middle-aged man in his 30s. He looked down at the crowd with a faint and arrogant smile on his face. Screech, the white sharp eagle streaked across the sky in an elegant arc and landed steadily on the central platform of the Yi family's front yard. A circle of vigorous airwaves, along with the majestic aura, swept out in all directions. The surrounding crowd was shaken and retreated continuously. Welcome, Teacher Li Gu. My apologies for not coming out to meet you, Yi Qing hurriedly greeted him with a smile. His attitude was especially warm. Patriarch of the Yi family. The middle-aged man on the white sharp eagle smiled faintly. Then, he led the crowd behind him down the platform and said to the white sharp eagle, "Wait for my orders in the forest outside the city." Coo-coo, the white sharp eagle let out a deep sound. Then, it spread its wings and soared into the sky under the astonished gazes of the crowd. It disappeared in the sky above the Yi family. How amazing! This is the first time I've seen a tamed spiritual beast so obedient. And it's a level 9 spiritual beast. Tifeng Province is indeed extraordinary. The people from Tifeng Province felt a sense of superiority when they heard the exclamations of the crowd around them. Teacher Li Gu, you must be tired from the journey. Please take a seat here. Yi Qing personally received the people from Tifeng Province politely. Qing Shi, the dean of Shaozong College, also stepped forward to greet them. Hee, Teacher Li Gu, how have you been? Dean Qing Shi, you're still as vigorous as ever. Haha. One was a teacher and the other was a dean. However, Shaozong College and Tifeng Province could not be compared at all. Qing Shi had to humble himself as a dean in front of Li Gu. The masters of the Lu family and the Liang family also stepped forward to greet them. Then, Li Gu sat down in the seat between Yi Qing and Qing Shi. From the arrangement of the seats, it could be seen that Li Gu and Yi Qing's seats were almost equal. Being on equal footing was enough to show the respect that the Yi family had for Tifeng Province. Yi family master, I heard that today is your daughter's birthday. Why don't we hold a banquet for her first, then discuss the assessment? Li Gu said. Teacher Li Gu, you're too kind. Yi Qing waved his hand and shook his head. The assessment of Tifeng Province is a major event that the entire Flaming Rain City is paying attention to. It's not too late for everyone to relax after this matter is settled. As soon as he said this, countless people below immediately agreed. It should be known that the purpose of most of the people here today was for the assessment of Tifeng Province's recruitment of students. In the past, the young geniuses of Flaming Rain City would personally go to the capital to participate in the assessment of the higher education institutions. It was rare for someone from Tifeng Province to come personally this year. This kind of anticipation was self-evident. In that case, let's begin the assessment. Li Gu did not insist. He paused for a moment and looked at the vice-headmaster, Qing Shi, before continuing. However, before the assessment, I have one more thing to announce. Something to announce? Everyone was slightly stunned. On the wide street of Flaming Rain City, a slender and handsome young man raised his head to look at the white sharp-edged eagle that disappeared into the clouds. The young man was dressed in black, and his firm facial features looked as if they were carved by a carving knife. Immediately, the young man's gaze fell on the plaque above the majestic gate of the mansion in front of him. The words, Yi Mansion, exuded a dignified and mighty aura. Chapter 7. Who dares to trespass into the Yi residence? Take out the invitation card. Isn't this genius, Chu? You didn't dare to come out for 3 months. Why do you have the time to come to our Yi family today? Before Chu Hen could step into the Yi family's gate, he was stopped by the 2 guards at the gate. When the 2 of them saw that the person in front of them was Chu Hen, their faces were filled with disdain. Their tone was full of sarcasm. Chu Hen's handsome face was calm and emotionless. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly as he replied indifferently. I'm here to participate in the Tifeng Province's assessment. His calm voice did not reveal the slightest bit of emotion. The 2 guards first looked at each other, then they laughed wildly at the same time. Their laughter was filled with great disdain. Ha 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 ha, assessment? I say, Genius Chu, you're still dreaming. The guard on the left changed the topic and shouted in a deep voice, Get lost immediately. This is not a place for a cripple like you. Today was not the same as before, it was different from the past. If it was 3 months ago, Any guard in the Yi family would have to treat Chu Hen with respect when they saw him. But now, even in the eyes of an ordinary person in the Flaming Rain City, Chu Hen was just a useless cripple. Chu Hen acted as if he did not hear the two's mockery and ridicule. He only minded his own business and walked up the stairs. "Humph, you cripple, can't you understand human language?" The guard on the right raised his eyebrows and raised his sandbag-sized fist to hit Chu Hen's face. "Today, I'll let a cripple like you be carried back." A cold light flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. With a bang, the guard's fist stopped about 10 centimeters in front of Chu Hen. Chu Hen's palm accurately grasped the guard's wrist. "What?" The guard was startled. Just as he was about to change his attack, he heard a "kacha" sound. The guard's arm was broken and bent. Before he could even let out a scream, Chu Hen had already slapped him across the face with the back of his hand. Bang! The guard was sent flying, and he spat out a mouthful of blood along with his broken teeth. The other guard was so shocked by this sudden scene that he was at a loss of what to do. Wasn't Chu Hen's cultivation already destroyed? How could he still be so powerful? In a panic, he hurriedly raised the spear in his hand and sent it toward Chu Hen's heart. "Bastard, go to hell!" "Humph!" Chu Hen's lips curled into a disdainful smile. He clenched his right fist and punched out. Bang! Before the guard's spear could even touch Chu Hen's clothes, an incomparably powerful fist force smashed into the guard's throat. The impact, which was equivalent to 1,000 pounds of force, shattered the guard's collarbone. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying 5 to 6 meters away with his spear. He lay on the ground, unable to get up. The gazes that the two looked at Chu Hen with immediately became reverence and fear. Chu Hen did not even look at them as he stepped into the Yi family's gate. The proud and aloof young man's back was as sharp as a blade. In the courtyard of the Yi family. "Before the assessment, I have something to announce," Li Gu, the tutor of Tifeng Province, said with a smile. "Something to announce?" Everyone was slightly taken aback as they stared at Li Gu in confusion. The dean of Shaozong, Qing Shi, looked at Yi Qing, Lu Xian, and Liang Hui with a profound smile and said, "Haha, I believe you will be very happy to hear about this." The three of them looked at each other, even more confused. Li Gu also smiled and waved his hand at an elder in his 50s behind him. The elder understood and walked forward under the puzzled gazes of the crowd, and said in a clear voice, "The edict issued by Tifeng Province states that the 3 strongest geniuses of Burning Rain City will be exempted from the assessment and will directly become official students of Tifeng Province." Rumble. As soon as the words were spoken, the entire crowd burst into an uproar. This year's 3 strongest geniuses were exempted from the assessment. Although to those 3, passing the assessment of Tifeng Province was not a difficult task. It was just that they did not have to go through the process in the middle. But this kind of honor could not be ignored. This represented the importance that Tifeng Province placed on them, and also showed their uniqueness. The meaning was self-evident. These 3 people are Lu Xiao, Yi Yu, Liang Yiming. Let's welcome this year's 3 strongest geniuses of Burning Rain City onto the stage to receive their badges as students of Imperial Wind Academy. Lu Xiao, Liang Yiming, Yi Yu. As soon as these 3 names were spoken, the crowd burst into an uproar. The heads of the Yi family, the Lu family, and the Liang family were instantly filled with joy. This was truly an unexpected surprise. Amidst the thunderous applause from the crowd, Lu Xiao, Liang Yiming, and Yi Yu, the 3 geniuses, ascended the high platform in the center. At this moment they were like the brightest stars in the night sky, exceptionally dazzling. "Senior brother Lu Xiao is too handsome. Senior brother Liang Yiming is too awesome. Congratulations senior sister Yi Yu for entering Tifeng Province." The enthusiastic applause was like thunder, and jubilant shouts rose one after another. Today, as the main character, Yi Yu was like the moon surrounded by the stars, shining brightly. Even the usually unsmiling Liang Yiming was excited at this moment. Lu Xiao was in high spirits, his eyebrows filled with pride. Immediately, a young attendant from Tifeng province came forward to present the badges of the academy to the three people. It was a glittering gold diamond-shaped badge. The badge was surrounded by beautiful patterns, and in the middle, the words "Imperial Wind" were extremely sharp. Miss Yu, congratulations on entering the Imperial Wind Academy. The young attendant handed the badge to Yu. Thank you. Yu was extremely happy, her smile like a flower, radiant, noble and beautiful. Young Master Liang Yiming, congratulations on entering the Imperial Wind Academy. Liang Yiming solemnly received the badge. Thank you. When the young attendant walked in front of Lu Xiao, the atmosphere immediately rose to an unprecedented height. As the #1 genius of Shaozong College, Lu Xiao had absolute popularity. At this moment, Lu Xiao's body blossomed with brilliance, as dazzling as the stars. Young Master Lu Xiao, congratulations on becoming a member of the Imperial Wind Academy. The attendant's eyes were obviously filled with praise. Thank you. Lu Xiao's face was brimming with a carefree smile. Wait. However, just as Lu Xiao was about to receive the badge, a cold voice suddenly exploded on the stage. The two indifferent words were like the icicles of the 12th lunar month, piercing to the bone. On the stage, Yi Yu's pretty face changed slightly, her eyes surging with some surprise. Below the stage, the second young miss of the Yi family, Yi Yao, trembled slightly, her jade-like hands clenched lightly, a glimmer of light surging in her eyes. It's big brother Chu Hen's voice. At this moment, the entire crowd was stunned, pairs of eyes filled with surprise swept in one direction. What was going on? The crowd quickly separated, and the figure of a young slender youth gradually appeared in the crowd's line of sight. This is Chu Hen? How could it be him? He can actually stand up? The tendons of his hands and feet are all reconnected. Looks like the general's residence has spent a lot of treasures on him. So what? Even if the tendons of his hands and feet are reconnected, the 9 great martial veins are not that easy to recover. It's already not bad for him to be able to stand up in 3 months. I'm curious, what is this trash doing here? Apart from being surprised, the surrounding people's faces surged with a lot of disdain. Especially the dean of Shaozong College, Qing Shi, his eyes were filled with disgust. Facing the disdainful gazes from all around, Chu Hen walked step by step towards the center of the stage. His ice-cold gaze pierced through the air, directly landing on the #1 genius of Shaozong, Lu Xiao. Chapter 8. Was he worthy of being the strongest genius in Flaming Rain City? His voice was as cold as an icicle in the dead of winter. Everyone present could not help but be shocked by the scene in front of them. Lu Xiao, who was standing on the stage, had a playful smile on his face. He casually took the Tifeng province badge from the attendant's hand and immediately spread his hands at Chu Hen. With a playful smile, he said, "Genius Chu, what do you have to say?" These few simple words were full of disdain. Everyone around him also had a look of disdain on their faces. However, what Chu Hen said next caused everyone to be stunned on the spot once again. I said, "You are not qualified to be this year's #1 genius in Flaming Rain City. Therefore, you are not qualified to hold the Tifeng province badge in your hands." As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd was in an uproar. Haha, what a joke! There are actually people who say that Senior Lu Xiao is not qualified to be the #1 genius in Flaming Rain City. The meridians in his hands and feet have recovered, but is his brain damaged again? It is very possible. 3 months ago, Senior Lu Xiao beat him to the point that he could not even get up. Today, he dares to criticize here. This is simply incorrigible stupidity. All kinds of ridicule and abuse were directed at Chu Hen. In the crowd, Yi Yao clenched her jade-like hands and her pretty little face was tense. At this time, how she wished that her sister could stand up for Chu Hen. However, Yi Yu only stood indifferently on the stage from beginning to end. That cold and noble face was full of indifference and disdain. Humph, this is simply nonsense. The dean of Shaozong College, Qing Shi, stood up and pointed at Chu Hen with extreme disgust. Chu Hen, you have been expelled from Shaozong College. You are not qualified to make a fuss here. Leave immediately. If you disrupt the order of the assessment, I will not forgive you. In the face of Qing Shi's ridicule, Chu Hen's expression did not change. Dean Qing Shi, as far as I know, Shaozong College's students are not the only ones who are qualified to participate in the assessment. Furthermore, the mentor from Tifeng Province said that they are the 3 strongest geniuses in Raging Rain City. My visit today has nothing to do with Shaozong College. Qing Shi immediately frowned, but did not know how to refute. The instructor of Tifeng Province, Li Gu, had a playful smile on his face as he watched the scene unfold before him with great interest. At this moment, the head of the Yi family, Yi Qing, stood up and said coldly, Chu Hen, it's true that you have nothing to do with Shaozong College, but this is my Yi family. As the head of the Yi family, I want you to leave this place immediately. Do you have any objections? Even the head of the Yi family had spoken. How could Chu Hen still have the face to stay here? Everyone around them had a gloating smile on their faces. Lu Xiao, in particular, had a look of mockery on his face. He sneered inwardly and said, Humph, cripple. I didn't kill you 3 months ago, but you came here to be humiliated today. How foolish. Receiving Yi Qing's fiery gaze, Chu Hen replied indifferently, The head of the Yi family is chasing me away. Naturally, I will not stay any longer. However, I have some objections to the 3 strongest geniuses in Raging Rain City that you have chosen. So? Yi Qing's voice became colder and colder. The only person who was worried about Chu Hen was the second daughter of the Yi family, Yi Yao. However, she became even more anxious. So, Chu Hen changed the topic and his gaze landed on Lu Xiao. He raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at him. His deep eyes flashed with coldness. Lu Xiao, get down here. Get down here. When these words left Chu Hen's mouth, an invisible aura swept out from his body. Get down here. Provocation. This was an absolute provocation. It was a provocation filled with humiliation. It was impossible for anyone to remain indifferent in the face of such provocation. The face of the head of the Lu family darkened. The frown on Dean Qing Shi's face deepened. The eyes of the head of the Yi family were as cold as frost. Countless supporters of Lu Xiao were also enraged. Senior brother Lu Xiao, kill him. This cripple is too arrogant. Previously, senior brother Lu Xiao was merciful and spared your life. Today, you still dare to come here and boast shamelessly. Senior brother Lu Xiao should really kill you. Chu Hen, get out of the Yi family. Get out. Chu Hen's actions provoked the anger of the crowd. Even Yi Yu and Liang Yiming were puzzled. What gave him the confidence to say such words? Yi Yu, in particular, looked at Chu Hen coldly with a trace of sympathy. From her point of view, Chu Hen was only here to cause trouble. Because of what happened before, it caused him to be mentally unbalanced. In other words, at this moment, in Yi Yu's eyes, Chu Hen was no different from a lunatic on the street. A cold and solemn atmosphere filled the air. Chu Hen and Lu Xiao's gazes met in the air, and sparks of hatred burst forth. Ha 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 ha! Lu Xiao laughed. His laughter was filled with disdain. He spread his arms and scolded disdainfully, Loser, I really don't know where you get the courage to stand here. Since you want to die, there's no reason for this young master to stop you. As he finished speaking, Lu Xiao held up the Tifeng Province student badge in his hand and shouted coldly, If you have the ability to defeat me, I'll give you this badge with both hands. However, if you dare to step onto this high platform, your life and death will be in the hands of the heavens. No one can interfere. Lu Xiao made his words very clear. Everyone present understood very well that the other party had no intention of letting Chu Hen go this time. Just what I wanted. A cold arc appeared on Chu Hen's face. The determined contours of his face revealed hints of ruthlessness. In the next instant, everyone present took a few steps back. However, seeing that the instructor of Tifeng Province, Li Gu, did not show any dissatisfaction, Yi Qing, Lu Xian, Din Qingshi and the others did not say anything else. Since Chu Hen was courting death, there was no reason not to grant him his wish. The two geniuses, Yi Yu and Liang Yiming, left the high platform in the center and returned to the back of the family head. Lu Xiao stood on the high platform and looked down at Chu Hen in front of him, as if he was looking at a person who was about to die. Chu Hen approached the high platform step by step. Just as he was less than 5 meters away from the high platform, another young figure suddenly appeared and blocked Chu Hen's way. "Humph, the great cripple Chu, you don't have the right to step onto this high platform. If you want to fight with senior brother Lu Xiao, you'll have to pass through me, Wei Tong." Wei Tong was at the 6th level of the channel opening realm. He was also one of the top geniuses in Shaozong College. Usually, Wei Tong would hang out with Lu Xiao and the others. 3 months ago, Wei Tong had also participated in the scheme to frame Chu Hen. Looking at Wei Tong's fierce and disdainful face, Chu Hen's lips moved slightly as he coldly spat out a few words. "Get lost." "Humph, you're courting death." A vicious light flashed in Wei Tong's eyes as the aura of a 6th-level channel opening realm exploded from his body. His body moved and he charged at Chu Hen like a ferocious beast. Buzz buzz, a strong true yuan climbed up Wei Tong's right arm like a gossamer. He raised his hand and punched at Chu Hen's chest. This punch was like the combined force of 9 bulls and had the power to split mountains and split the earth. Not to mention the current Chu Hen, even in the past, he might not have been able to avoid this attack. Many people around them had gloating looks in their eyes. Go to hell. The air became chaotic, but at this moment, Chu Hen stepped to the side and easily dodged his opponent's attack. Not waiting for Wei Tong to change his moves, Chu Hen's figure leaned forward, and his left hand turned into a fist. With surging true yuan lingering around it, a solid fist fiercely smashed into the lower part of Wei Tong's chest. Bang! A heavy sound exploded in the air, causing everyone to stare with their eyes wide open. In that instant, Wei Tong's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets as his face turned pale. The pain of his bones being broken immediately spread throughout his body. Dark Dipper Fist. Chu Hen shouted and quietly released his hidden force. Under everyone's incredulous gaze, Wei Tong spat out a mouthful of blood and fell heavily to the ground. His sternum was broken and his organs were ruptured. Even his chest had caved in. Oh my God! How is this possible? One punch, with just one punch, Wei Tong, who was at the 6th stage of the Meridian opening realm, was defeated. The crowd's hearts trembled. It was likely that even the Chu Hen from 3 months ago would not have been able to do this. Just what was going on? After his meridians were shattered, Chu Hen had become even stronger? Yi Qing, Qingshi, Lu Xian and the rest were also stunned. Yi Yu's hands involuntarily clenched together as her eyebrows lightly knitted together. Her face was filled with confusion. My apologies, I was a little too heavy-handed. Looks like you will not be able to participate in the assessment today, Chu Hen said in an indifferent tone. Wei Tong's body trembled as he felt like crying. He had clearly wanted to show off, but he did not expect it to backfire. However, Chu Hen did not even take another look at the other party. His body moved and directly leaped onto the high platform at the center. His eyes met Lu Zhao's. You've actually recovered your cultivation? Lu Zhao's eyebrows were tightly knitted together as a trace of ruthlessness surged between his brows. Unexpected? Even more unexpected things are yet to come. A sharp glint flickered in Chu Hen's eyes as his tone abruptly dropped like snow. Lu Xiao brat, I will skin you alive today. Hatred that originated from the depths of his bones. The chill emitted from Chu Hen's body was bone-piercing like needles. The expressions of the crowd below changed again and again. Was this still the same Chu Hen from before? His aura was a little too icy. Thick killing intent was also revealed from Lu Xiao. Heh, cripple, so what if you've recovered your cultivation? Since I can cripple you once, I can cripple you a second time. Buzz. In that instant, Lu Xiao leaped into the air like a cheetah pouncing on its prey, nimbly charging towards Chu Hen. True yuan that was countless times stronger than Wei Tong's burst out from his body. With 7 martial meridians opened, Lu Xiao was incomparable to Wei Tong in all aspects. Senior brother Lu Xiao, kill him. Senior brother Lu Xiao will definitely win and teach this shameless thing a lesson. While the crowd was talking, Lu Xiao had already arrived in front of Chu Hen. His right hand turned into a palm blade as he rapidly slashed towards his opponent's neck. Chu Hen sneered as he changed his footwork, easily dodging his opponent's palm blade. Too slow, cripple Chu. Lu Xiao yelled as his left hand immediately struck towards his opponent. As he moved, a strand of true yuan climbed up his left arm. Suddenly, a shadow of a sharp tiger's claw appeared around Lu Xiao's left palm. The sharp claws tore through the air. The crowd below secretly cheered. This claw shadow was enough to break through Chu Hen's chest. You're the one who's too slow. What? As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Hen directly flipped backwards. While dodging his opponent's attack, he lifted his leg and kicked fiercely at his opponent's chest. Bang! Under the crowd's astonished gaze, Lu Xiao was directly kicked back by Chu Hen. How could this be? Chapter 9. Bang! The sound of energy clashing continuously resounded from the high platform in the center. Looking at the intense battle between the two young figures on the platform, the expressions of the crowd below changed. Even the patriarch of the Lu family, Lu Xian, the patriarch of the Yi family, Yi Qing, the patriarch of the Liang family, Liang Hui, and the dean of Shaozong College, Qing Shi found it hard to maintain their original calmness. The Yi family's eldest daughter, Yi Yu, focused her beautiful eyes. She looked at Chu Hen, who was fighting with Lu Xiao, with a complicated expression. She clearly remembered that 3 months ago, she personally witnessed Chu Hen's 9 martial veins being shattered and the tendons in his arms and legs being torn. At that time, Chu Hen was crawling in the snow and couldn't even stand up. Logically speaking, he wouldn't be able to practice martial arts for the rest of his life. However, after 3 months, not only did Chu Hen reappear in front of everyone unscathed, but he was even stronger than before. Big brother Chu Hen. Below the platform, Yi Yao bit her red lips with her pearly white teeth. Her heart was filled with complicated feelings. She was happy that Chu Hen had returned safely, but she was also worried that he would be hurt by Lu Xiao again. But more than that, she was unable to face Chu Hen and her sister, Yi Yu, like before. Although Chu Hen came to the Yi family today, he didn't even look at Yi Yu. From Yi Yu's previous behavior, Yi Yao seemed to understand that no matter the reason, her sister and Chu Hen would never be able to return to their previous state. Boom! Bang! The confrontation between Chu Hen and Lu Xiao could be said to be full of sparks. Both of them were the 4 geniuses of Shaozong College. Now, the two of them were only enemies. Whoosh! Chu Hen's feet moved with the Big Dipper step. Every attack was extremely effective. If his opponent was not Lu Xiao, he would have long been defeated by Chu Hen. Even so, under Chu Hen's continuous attacks, Lu Xiao gradually showed signs of defeat. Is that the Big Dipper movement technique? Li Gu, the instructor of Tifeng Province, who was sitting on a wide chair in the spectator stand, narrowed his eyes and mumbled to himself. After thinking for a short while, he shook his head. No, this kid's movement technique is even more flexible than the Big Dipper movement technique. How could such a talent be expelled from Shaozong College? Li Gu calmly glanced at Dean Qing Shi beside him, but the latter was only staring at the stage and did not notice Li Gu. Humph, I didn't expect you to become stronger. It seems that the general's mansion has wasted a lot of elixirs on you in the past 3 months. Lu Xiao said sarcastically as he welcomed Chu Hen's attack. I said, "the unexpected is yet to come." 2 rays of cold light shot out from Chu Hen's eyes, and a surge of primordial energy that was not inferior to Lu Zhao's burst out. The crowd's expression changed, and a shocked voice came from the crowd. "Channel opening stage level 7, he actually broke through." The surrounding crowd then understood. No wonder Chu Hen was able to force Lu Xiao to this extent, no wonder he could injure Wei Tong, who was at channel opening stage 6, with one punch. It turned out that Chu Hen had already opened his 7th martial meridian. In an instant, Chu Hen's attacks were like rain, constantly attacking Lu Xiao's body. Bang! Caught off guard, Lu Xiao was once again forced to retreat. "I've said it before. I'm going to skin you alive today." The airflow on the stage became especially chaotic following Chu Hen's attack. Lu Xiao was infuriated and furious. A great killing intent suddenly rose. In an instant, the primordial energy in Lu Xiao's body surged violently, and a vicious light flashed in his ice-cold eyes. "Cripple, you can't beat me. Today, I will make you die without a burial." Boom! In the next instant, Lu Xiao immediately rushed out, the surging primordial energy continuously gathering in his right palm. The audience could clearly see the power surging in his palm. Senior brother Lu Xiao is about to end the battle. Chu Hen will die without a doubt. Lu Xiao's momentum was fierce, and the ferocious force of his palm caused a chaotic airflow to appear on the stage. "Go to hell! Mountain-splitting earth palm!" At the same time as this terrifying attack descended, a powerful energy also surged out from Chu Hen's body, and an unending stream of primordial energy gathered in his right fist. The restless energy ripples were like undercurrents in deep water. 7 killing Dark Dipper Fist. Boom! The fist and the palm collided, and a chaotic wave of primordial energy exploded on the stage. The violent impact caused the stage to crack. Along with an invisible wave of air, the scene of Chu Hen's defeat that everyone expected did not appear. Instead, the two of them retreated backwards. Chu Hen retreated 5 steps before stopping, while Lu Xiao retreated 7 steps before stabilizing himself. The surrounding audience was even more shocked. It was obvious that Chu Hen had the upper hand in this exchange. "Damn cripple!" Lu Xiao clenched his fists, and his eyes were about to spit fire. As the top genius of Shaozong College, he had not been able to gain any advantage from the beginning. This was something he could not tolerate. "Today, I will make you die without a burial place." Chu Hen coldly looked at his opponent, and the corners of his mouth curled up in disdain. "A cornered dog will do something desperate?" "Shut up!" Lu Xiao angrily roared. Buzz! In the next moment, a ferocious and tyrannical aura suddenly rose from Lu Xiao's body. A powerful airflow filled the air above the platform. At the same time, a layer of dazzling golden light immediately covered Lu Xiao's body. Roar! A low roar similar to that of a lion came from Lu Xiao's throat. Under numerous gazes filled with amazement, his arms and limbs thickened, and even the clothes on his body were torn apart. Feeling the vicious and violent rage coming from Lu Xiao's body, the expressions of the audience changed. Lion Force Martial Physique. Senior brother Lu Xiao is really angry. After releasing the Lion Force Martial Physique, senior brother Lu Xiao can fight against a level 8 channel opening realm warrior. Chu Hen is dead for sure. Shaozong's #1 genius is not just for show. Lu Xiao's entire body emitted a ferocious aura like that of a wild beast. His bloodthirsty eyes stared at Chu Hen in front of him. "It's over, you cripple!" Roar! Accompanied by a mighty and impassioned lion roar, Lu Xiao instantly flashed away from his original position, and with a speed that was twice as fast as usual, he charged at Chu Hen. In this short period of time, a rich golden light quickly gathered in front of Lu Xiao. In the blink of an eye, a ferocious phantom of a lion's head appeared in everyone's line of sight. A cold and austere aura swept across the entire arena. The phantom of a lion's head was aggressive. This Lu Xiao had an aura of wanting to kill Chu Hen on the spot. Umph. Just when everyone thought that Chu Hen was dead for sure, a disdainful arc appeared on his opponent's face, and his pitch-black eyes became deep and sharp. In an instant, Chu Hen's figure moved, and he fearlessly faced the attack head-on. Buzz buzz! A violent wave of power surged out from Chu Hen's body, and a dark, flame-like light quickly climbed up Chu Hen's right fist. The restless black light was like a demonic flame extracted from the depths of hell. That's... The surrounding people all revealed astonished expressions. Li Gu, Qing Shi, Yi Qing, Lu Xian, and the others on the viewing platform also frowned. Everyone could clearly feel that Chu Hen's power was in no way weaker than Lu Zhao's. Boom! Without any extra time to think, under the countless astonished gazes of the audience, Chu Hen's fist, which was wrapped in black light, firmly collided with the golden lion head illusion. A violent force burst forth on the stage, and a dozen cracks immediately appeared on the stage between the two, followed by an even more shocking scene. Bang! Under countless incredulous gazes, the phantom of a lion that Lu Xiao had condensed suddenly collapsed and exploded. The golden fragments wantonly flew everywhere. Chu Hen's fist energy was like a hot knife cutting through butter. It gave rise to a powerful impact and heavily landed on Lu Zhao's chest. What? Lu Zhao's pupils shrank to the size of a needle, and endless fear immediately covered his entire face. Boom! Accompanied by an extremely heavy explosive sound, the fist force that possessed the strength to break through 1,000 kilograms poured down, causing Lu Zhao's body to shake violently. His sternum was on the verge of breaking, his internal organs shifted, and the blood in his entire body flowed extremely rapidly. Lu Xiao spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body fell backward. On the stage, the family heads of the Lu family, the Yi family, and Dean Xiaozong could not help but stand up from their seats. How did this bastard become so powerful? Dean Xiaozong could not help but blurt out. The Yi family's eldest daughter, Yi Yu, frowned slightly, and her eyes were filled with a complicated look. Below the stage, Yi Yao was pleasantly surprised, and her pair of big eyes were filled with bright light. Swoosh! Before everyone could recover from the shock, Chu Hen immediately disappeared from where he was. He leaped up and directly flashed to the area above Lu Xiao. Lu Xiao, who had no time to react at all, had a face full of panic. Hee, you also know fear? Chu Hen sneered. Bang! Chu Hen turned over and swept his opponent's chest with a heavy kick. Bang! Lu Xiao fell hard on the stage, causing dust to fly up and rocks to fly everywhere. The rocks of different sizes were like a group of startled moths. After a series of heavy blows, Lu Xiao lost the strength to fight back, and scarlet blood kept spitting out from his mouth. The entire Yi family was dead silent, and everyone's face was filled with deep shock. Lu Xiao lost. The top of the 4 geniuses of Shaozong College had actually lost. It was obvious that 3 months ago, Chu Hen and Lu Xiao were not on the same level. If they did not see it with their own eyes, perhaps no one present would believe what had happened in front of them. Cough cough. Lu Xiao coughed out blood continuously. Chu Hen looked at him coldly and shouted in a deep voice, "Why did you frame me? Why did you frame me?" As soon as he said that, everyone was stunned. What was going on? Why would Chu Hen ask such a question? Heh heh heh. A ruthless smile appeared on Lu Zhao's face. Even though he was seriously injured, he still looked down on Chu Hen. What did you say? I can't hear. Boom! Before Lu Xiao could finish his sentence, Chu Hen had already grabbed his throat and pulled him out of the pit on the ground. Lu Zhao's feet left the ground. Chu Hen grabbed his throat and his eyes became colder. I'll ask you again, why did you frame me? Stop. The head of the Lu family, Lu Xian, was furious. He could not tolerate his son being humiliated in front of him. Chu Hen sneered and shouted, "Head of the Lu family, it was your son who said that once you're on the stage, your life or death is up to the heavens, and no one is allowed to interfere. Are you King deaf?" Chu Hen did not have a good impression of the father and son, so he humiliated them without giving them any face. Lu Xian's face turned ashen after being insulted like that. Yi Qing frowned and said in a deep voice, Chu Hen, you've already won the competition. Let go of Lu Xiao. However, Chu Hen remained unmoved. His blade-like gaze stared intently at Lu Xiao, who was in front of him. I'll ask you one last time. Why did you frame me back then? Speak. Speak. The sharp words had an irresistible force. Lu Xiao was shocked. He struggled and said with difficulty, why did you frame me? You have to ask the woman you like, the woman I like? Everyone was stunned. Countless pairs of eyes involuntarily swept over to the eldest daughter of the Yi family, Yi Yu. Many people in Shaozong College knew that Chu Hen and Yi Yu used to be very close. It was no secret that Chu Hen liked her. The woman he liked? To Chu Hen, it should be the woman he liked in the past. Yi Yu felt a little uncomfortable when she received the different looks from the crowd, but she quickly regained her composure. Why? Chu Hen asked coldly. I don't know what you're talking about. Yi Yu's eyes were filled with indifference. That kind of gaze was exactly the same as the one she used to look at Chu Hen in the snowy land 3 months ago. Lu Xiao laughed. His laughter was full of mockery. Even though he was being choked by Chu Hen, he believed that Chu Hen would not dare to do anything to him in this situation. A cripple abandoned by a woman, Buzz! Lu Xiao's laughter was still in his throat when 2 sharp lights suddenly shot out from Chu Hen's eyes. In the next moment, Chu Hen exerted force in his arm and lifted Lu Xiao into the air. Endless killing intent rose. I told you to shut your dog mouth. Brat, how dare you? The head of the Lu family, Lu Xian, shouted angrily. However, Chu Hen did not seem to hear him. The black light once again surged to the tip of his fist. When Lu Xiao reached the highest point in the air and began to fall, Chu Hen fiercely punched the dantian of his lower abdomen. I'll pay you back double for what you did that day. The powerful fist force surged into Lu Xiao's body like an undercurrent and directly attacked his major meridians. Bang! A dull explosion exploded in Lu Xiao's body. The latter's pupils almost burst and a miserable scream reverberated from his mouth. In the next moment, under countless shocked gazes, the tendons in Lu Xiao's wrists and ankles suddenly exploded. Warm blood spurted out like a fountain. This punch directly shattered the major meridians in Lu Xiao's body, as well as the tendons in his hands and feet. Ruthless, truly ruthless. Chapter 10. Bang! A muffled explosion reverberated from within Lu Xiao's body. The pupils of everyone present shrunk to the size of a needle. Along with an especially mournful scream, the tendons at Lu Xiao's wrists and ankles were forcibly ruptured under countless astonished gazes. Warm blood spurted out like a fountain. Chu Hen's heavy punch directly shattered the major meridians and tendons in Lu Xiao's hands and feet. Boom! In an instant, everyone present felt as though a thunderbolt had exploded in their ears. The appearance of this scene caused countless people's faces to turn as white as a sheet of paper. Ruthless, truly ruthless. What Lu Xiao had done to Chu Hen 3 months ago, Chu Hen had now returned the favor. Moreover, on a special day like today, the blow dealt to Lu Xiao was much crueler. Bang! Lu Xiao fell heavily onto the stage. Scarlet blood continuously flowed from his mouth, wrists, and ankles, directly dyeing a large area of the stage red. The entire Yi family residence fell into an endless, deathly silence. Countless people felt a chill run down their spines, and fear crept up their spines. No, Lu Xiao's body trembled and his facial features were distorted. Not long ago, he was still the #1 genius of Flaming Rain City that everyone praised. Not long ago, he received the student badge of Tifeng Province in high spirits amidst the cheers of the crowd. However, from start to finish, less than a quarter of an hour had passed. Everything had been snatched away. Honor, fame, and cultivation. Looking at Lu Xiao, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog, those members of Chu Hen's family who had previously insulted and ridiculed him shut their mouths. There were even some whose legs were faintly trembling. Wei Tong, who had previously been defeated by Chu Hen in one move, felt waves of lingering fear in his heart. Compared to Lu Xiao, Wei Tong, who was only injured, was extremely fortunate. His martial vein was completely shattered, and the tendons of his hands and feet were severed. Lu Xiao directly fell from the peak of the mountain to the bottom of the valley, his body smashed to pieces. Apart from being shocked, everyone also realized that what happened to Chu Hen 3 months ago might have been a trap. The person who framed him was most likely not only Lu Xiao, but also the eldest daughter of the Yi family, Yi Yu. The atmosphere became increasingly tense and tense. "Father, save me, I don't want to be a cripple." Lu Xiao had long since lost his previous arrogance and pride. His entire face was filled with resentment and unwillingness. Lu Xian, the patriarch of the Lu family, was livid. The flames of anger in his eyes were like uncontrollable lava. "Bastard, how dare you! How dare you cripple him!" Boom! In the next instant, a surging aura and soaring killing intent directly erupted from Lu Xian's body. How could he still care about the agreement that life and death on the high platform is up to the heavens, no one is allowed to interfere? Even if he did not have the face of the patriarch of the Lu family, he, Lu Xian, would still slaughter this extremely repulsive brat in front of him. The faces of everyone present changed. In an instant, Lu Xian leapt into the air, bringing forth a powerful aura akin to a mountain as it rumbled towards Chu Hen, who was on the high platform at the center. "Die! Damn thing!" As one of the top large families in Blazing Rain City, Lu Xian's strength was not just for show. A casual palm from the other party was enough to kill several Chu Hens. Chu Hen will undoubtedly die. This was the thought in everyone's heart. Looking at the menacing Lu Xian, Chu Hen had a thought. His eyes suddenly became hot and a hint of purple luster that was as obscure as silk flickered in his pupils. Lu Xian's enraged face was reflected in his deep eyes. Boom! A violent explosion instantly erupted on the surface of the platform. Rubble flew everywhere and dust flew everywhere. Countless densely packed cracks spread on the surface of the platform wantonly. Along with the chaotic primordial energy, everyone in the audience once again opened their eyes wide. What? He dodged it? A mere Chu Hen actually dodged the attack of the patriarch of the Lu family. What had just happened was as if Chu Hen had predicted that Lu Xian would attack him from the left and swiftly dodged to the right before the other's attack arrived. This scene caused even Dean Qing Shi of Shaozong, Patriarch Liang Hui of the Liang family, and Patriarch Yi Qing of the Yi family to involuntarily frown. Everyone knew how great the gap between Chu Hen and Lu Xian was. It could be said that in the entire Blazing Rain City, there were no more than 10 people who could dodge Lu Xian's attack. But Chu Hen, who was merely at the 7th level of the channel opening stage, had actually managed to do so. Instructor Li Gu of Tifeng Province raised an eyebrow, a hint of astonishment flickering in his eyes. "Humph, you sure run fast." The corner of Lu Xian's eyes narrowed, and the killing intent between his eyebrows grew stronger. Immediately, Lu Xian's body moved, and once again, he raised a fierce palm energy that shot towards Chu Hen. The surging True Yuan created a thick layer of golden spiraling qi wave in the air. The palm energy could clearly be seen rising and surging within Lu Xian's palm. The airflow on the entire platform became abnormally chaotic. "Let's see where you can hide this time. Die." Buzz buzz, strong winds blew, and the killing intent rose. Chu Hen frowned and a purple light flashed in his cold eyes. In the next moment, a demonic light purple light was released from his body. Under Chu Hen's control, the true Yuan that erupted became more and more violent. Immediately, Chu Hen directly raised his palm and faced Lu Xian head-on. This guy doesn't want to live. He actually dared to face the palm energy of the patriarch of the Lu family head-on. Crazy, he's definitely crazy. Regarding Chu Hen's behavior, The surrounding people were surprised and suspicious. If Lu Xian's palm hit Chu Hen, even if he did not die, he would lose half of his life. Mountain-destroying waterfall palm. Boom! Bang! Along with Chu Hen's fierce shout, the two's palms collided firmly. A circle of vigorous true yuan turned into airwaves that directly swept the entire platform, and the purple light lingering around Chu Hen's body was shattered in an instant. The incomparably powerful impact whistled. Chu Hen was directly sent flying off the stage. Both of his legs were dragged on the ground for a dozen or so meters before he was able to stop. At the same time, with a wah sound, a mouthful of blood spurted from Chu Hen's mouth. Brother Chu Hen. Yi Yao's pretty face changed greatly. She was so nervous that she clenched her hands so tightly that her knuckles were faintly white. However, the appearance of this scene once again shocked the hearts of the crowd. Unexpectedly, Chu Hen received Lu Xian's palm energy. Although the latter was blasted off the platform and vomited blood, he stood there steadily and did not suffer any serious injuries. How can this be? The eldest daughter of the Yi family, Yi Yu, frowned slightly. At this moment, she could not see through Chu Hen at all. In the past, she could be said to know everything about Chu Hen, but now the other party seemed to be shrouded in a dense fog, hiding too many secrets. In these 3 months, what exactly happened to Chu Hen's body? Buzz. Before the crowd could recover from the shock, Lu Xian was already even more furious, and his intention to kill Chu Hen became even more determined. Brat, you will die today without a doubt. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Xian directly flew up from the platform, and a powerful pressure surged towards Chu Hen. Boom! At this moment, an extremely violent gust of wind suddenly came from the direction of the main entrance of the Yi family, followed by a thunderous roar. Old dog Lu Xian, you're really shameless. In the next moment, a tall and burly figure, surrounded by countless silver vortex halos, quickly flashed in front of Chu Hen. The person quickly stretched out both of his palms. Roar! Accompanied by a low and powerful dragon roar, an illusory dragon shadow attacked from the center of his palms and collided with Lu Xian. Boom! A powerful force shook the sky above the crowd and exploded. Golden brilliance and silver vortexes bloomed in all directions. The airflow between heaven and earth became extremely chaotic. Everyone in the surroundings was shaken by the aura, and they were forced to retreat. 9-soul dragon seal. A cry of surprise came from the crowd at the side. Immediately, Lu Xian returned to the platform. He clenched his fists tightly, and looked angrily at the tall and burly figure that had flashed to Chu Hen's side. He coldly shouted, Long Zhan. Upon hearing these 2 words, everyone present was shocked. Long Zhan, the master of the general's residence. Long Zhan's appearance instantly stunned the crowd. Chu Hen, who was behind him, also heaved a sigh of relief. Uncle Zhan. Long Zhan turned around, and his heroic brows revealed a strong sense of solemnity. His sharp eyes could faintly be seen with some unconcealable concern. In the past 3 months, in order to find Chu Hen's whereabouts, Long Zhan had practically thrown the entire general's residence into chaos. Now, the stone in Long Zhan's heart could finally be put down. Hen if there's anything, wait until we return to the general's residence. With me here, let's see who dares to touch you today. The long-lost warmth made Chu Hen's brows relax. Immediately, Long Zhan turned around and pointed at Lu Xian. Old dog Lu Xian, you're the master of this generation in vain. In front of so many people, you attacked a junior. Could it be that you've lived like a dog? Lu Xian's face was ashen, and he sternly rebuked, Long Zhan, look at what this little animal Chu Hen has done. He crippled my son, how can I spare him? What? The corner of Long Zhan's eyes narrowed. Only then did he realize that Lu Xiao was in a sorry state on the high platform, with all the meridians in his body broken. Tell me, how should we settle this debt? Lu Xian said fiercely. Ha 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 ha! Before Lu Xian could finish his words, Long Zhan looked up to the sky and laughed. good cripple. Your little brat from the Liu family deserves it. The men of my general's residence will take revenge, and blood must be paid with blood." As soon as these words came out, everyone present was stunned. Who would have thought that Long Zhan would actually say such unexpected words? Lu Xian was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. His eyes were blood red as he fiercely shouted, "What did you say?" "I said that you deserve it." The gaze of Long Zhan was like a ray of light, incomparably sharp. Raising his hand, he pointed at Lu Xiao and said, "3 months ago, this little bastard framed Chu Hen, causing his meridians to be broken and his hands and feet to be crippled. Today, this is just an eye for an eye. Bastard Chu Hen, this little animal, has done things that are worse than beasts. Everyone knows that, you spit shit out of your mother's mouth." Not waiting for Lu Xian to finish, Long Zhan directly interrupted him. His voice was like rolling thunder, and he angrily roared, "How can a man of my general's residence do such evil things? You know very well what the truth is." Lu Xian was unable to restrain his anger, and his killing intent rose. "Long Zhan, today, even you can't save this little animal's life. Humph, I'm not afraid of you." As soon as Long Zhan's voice fell, a series of steady and rhythmic footsteps were heard. Immediately after, a group of guards wearing armor and holding a long spear directly rushed in from the main door of the Yi family. They were strong and powerful, and their aura was extraordinary. They were the guards of the general's residence. Everyone's expression changed drastically, even Chu Hen was stunned. Chapter 11. Let me make my words clear. If anyone dares to touch my Chu Hen today, I, Long Zhan, will be the first to kill that son of Ab*T6. His voice was like thunder, bold and rough. The prestige of Long Zhan suppressed everyone present. Looking at the army of the general's mansion that was pouring in, everyone's expression changed. Even the head of the Yi family, Yi Qing, the head of the Liang family, Liang Hui, the dean of the Shaozong University, Qing Shi, and the others were shocked. It turned out that Long Zhan came prepared. Li Gu and his men from the Tifeng province did not have the slightest intention of meddling. They just quietly watched from the stage. To them, what kind of situation had they not seen before? In the eyes of the people from the Tifeng province, one of the 5 major universities of the Sacred Star Dynasty, this was nothing. The armor was cold, and the spear was sharp. The guards of the general's mansion immediately protected Chu Hen in the middle. The atmosphere became extremely cold and solemn in an instant. A chilling murderous aura seemed to freeze even the air. The surrounding crowd retreated one after another. Once a fight broke out, no one knew how chaotic the situation would be. Looking at the head of the Liu family, Lu Xian, his face was extremely gloomy. Based on the number of people on both sides, once a fight broke out, the Liu family would definitely be at a disadvantage. However, if they just let it go, they would not be able to swallow this resentment. When both sides were ready to jump at each other's throats and the scene was on the verge of erupting, the Yi clan's patriarch, Yi Qing, stepped forward and shouted in a stern voice. "Long Zhan, don't forget that this is my Yi clan, and you're not allowed to behave atrociously here." As soon as he said that, everyone present suddenly realized what day it was. The birthday banquet of the eldest daughter of the Yi family, Yi Yu, and the recruitment examination of the Tifeng province. These 2 important matters had been forgotten by everyone because of what had just happened. The radiance that Chu Hen released earlier had covered everyone present, including Miss Yi, who was like a moon that was surrounded by stars. "Humph!" Long Zhan sneered. His eyebrows were full of mockery. "Yi Qing, the general's mansion has been friends with your Yi family for more than 10 years. As the head of the Yi family, why didn't you stop Chu Hen when he almost lost his life to Lu Xian?" Yi Qing clenched his fists and frowned. Long Zhan continued, "There are so many people in your Yi family, but not one of them stood up for Chu Hen. Just take it that I, Long Zhan, am blind and have misjudged you. There's no need to say anything more. From today onwards, My general's mansion and your Yi family will be like this spear. As soon as he finished speaking, Long Jean grabbed the spear in the hands of a guard behind him. At the same time, a violent wave of power surged out from Long Jean's palm. Bang! With a loud explosion, the spear broke into two pieces. Everyone's expression changed. Chu Hen, who was standing behind Long Jean, clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were full of respect and gratitude. Long Jean, who had always been strict with him since he was young, unexpectedly became enemies with the Lu family and broke ties with the Yi family for him. This bond that was similar to the bond between father and son caused Chu Hen's heart to surge with waves of warmth. The knot that locked in Chu Hen's heart 3 months ago was finally untied. First it was Lu Xian. Now it was Yi Qing. The two patriarchs were impolitely humiliated by Long Jean. However, in the eyes of outsiders, Long Jean was so iron-blooded and heroic. He exuded a proud and righteous aura that made people admire him. Everyone present was even more convinced. Would Chu Hen, who was raised with integrity by Long Jean, do such a thing that was worse than a beast? The answer was obvious. Yi Qing was trembling with anger. He clenched his teeth and glared at Long Jean. Long Jean, don't you regret this? I, Long Jean, never regret anything I do. Long Jean's eyes flickered with a cold and fierce sheen as he shouted in a stern voice. Men of the general's estate, heed my command. Yes. The guards of the general's mansion answered in unison. Return to the mansion. Yes. As soon as he finished speaking, Long Jean led Chu Hen and the guards of the general's mansion away. They did not turn their heads. They walked in unison and walked out of the Yi family's door under the complicated gaze of everyone present. Yi Qing and Lu Xian were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. Today was supposed to be a glorious day for the Yi family. They did not expect that they would make such a scene and lose all their face. The Lu family was even more humiliated. The #1 genius of Shaozong College, Lu Xiao, was beaten into a cripple by Chu Hen in front of everyone. He would definitely not be able to enter Tifeng province. It was unknown whether he would be able to repair his meridians and cultivate martial arts in the future. Little bastard, I will not let you go. Lu Xian clenched his teeth and shouted fiercely. Yi Yu, who was standing on the other side, frowned slightly. She looked at Chu Hen's back as he disappeared through the door. Her eyes were filled with complicated emotions. General's mansion. How are your injuries? I'll ask Dr. Wan to come and take a look. Long Jean asked with a hint of concern between his eyebrows. Chu Hen smiled and shook his head. Jean Bo, I'm fine. I only suffered some minor injuries. I'll be fine after a few days of rest. Looking at the spirited Chu Hen in front of him, Long Jean's heart was filled with confusion. 3 months ago, when Long Jean received the news that Chu Hen's meridians were destroyed by Lu Xiao, he immediately went out. However, when he arrived at the scene of the incident, Chu Hen was long gone. There was only a trail of blood on the snowy ground. The furious Long Jean immediately brought his men and rushed to the Lu family. Both sides did not get along and almost fought. If it wasn't for Long Jean's concern for Chu Hen's safety, he would have turned the Lu family upside down that day. During these 3 months, Long Jean did not give up on looking for Chu Hen's traces. Just when the other side was about to lose hope, there was news that Chu Hen had appeared in the Yi family. Immediately, Long Jean rushed over as fast as he could. It was also because of Long Jean's timely arrival that Chu Hen was spared. Of course, in reality, even if Long Jean had not arrived, Chu Hen had already thought of a way out. Before entering the Yi clan, Chu Hen had already arranged for a fast horse to be sent to a certain place outside. If he encountered a situation that he could not handle, Chu Hen would still retreat. However, with the appearance of Long Jean, things became much simpler and more direct. The resentment that had been suppressed in his heart for 3 months was finally released. But because of this, there was also a root of conflict between the Yi family and the Lu family. Uncle Jean, about today's matter. You don't need to say more. Long Jean waved his hand and replied solemnly, Since your grandfather left, the general's residence has not been as glorious as it was in the past. But no matter what, the general's residence was once part of the royal family. No matter what, the Yi family and the Lu family would not dare to make a move on us. Chu Hen nodded. If that's the case, then I'm relieved. Even though Long Jean was especially curious about Chu Hen's experience in these 3 months, he did not immediately ask him. Hen, go back to your room and rest first. I'll come over to see you later. Yes, Uncle Jean. Chu Hen agreed and immediately left. He returned to the courtyard that he lived in. In the familiar room, Chu Hen laid on his bed, feeling an indescribable sense of comfort. The things that happened to him in these past few days constantly flashed through his mind. Especially today's matter. He felt a lot of emotions. Chu Hen and Long Jean were not related by blood. The old master of the general's residence was called Long Bo, a famous general of the Sacred Star dynasty. General Long Bo had been fighting on the battlefield all year round, eliminating invaders and stabilizing the country. He had made countless contributions to the Sacred Star dynasty. 16 years ago, General Long Bo accidentally found a baby boy after a battle with foreign enemies. The baby boy was clearly born not long ago. Perhaps he was a newborn left behind from the chaos of the war. The baby boy was picked up on the battlefield. For the old General Long Bo, who had fought countless battles, this was like some kind of fate that was formed by the will of the heavens. The old general brought him back home and treated him like a grandson, seeing him as a member of the family. This baby was Chu Hen. However, General Long Bo had to guard the fortress at the border all year round, so he did not have much time to come home. As for the task of taking care of Chu Hen, the old general handed it over to his only son, Long Jean. The old father was protecting the country, while Long Jean was in charge of the affairs of the family. Because of his military background, Long Jean's management of Chu Hen was very strict, even stricter than his own son and daughter. Ever since he was young, Chu Hen had been beaten and scolded. However, Chu Hen had never given up on the fetters of the general's mansion. As the saying goes, one cannot turn down the kindness of raising a child. Later on, because of the old general's constant battles, his body was overworked and his old illness relapsed. 3 years ago, General Long Bo had passed away on his journey to the west. After the old general passed away, his only son, Long Jean, took care of all the affairs of the general's residence. In the past few years, what made Long Jean the most satisfied was his son and daughter. At this time last year, his son and daughter had successfully entered the imperial capital's higher education institutions. Moreover, they were the imperial capital's 5 great schools that were equally famous as Tifeng province. Apart from them, there was also Chu Hen. This son, who was not related to him by blood, was equally talented. Although Long Jean did not say it out loud, he was very satisfied with Chu Hen. Under Long Jean's management, the general's residence gradually returned to its previous stable state. However, because of the loss of General Long Bo, many families no longer placed the general's residence in their eyes. Taking the matter of Chu Hen being framed as an example, if old General Long Bo was still alive, Lu Shao would not dare to do such a thing even if he had 10 guts. However, it was also because of this incident that Chu Hen had a new understanding of Long Jean. Under the other party's harsh scolding, there was actually a deep sense of concern. This friendship was no less than the friendship between a father and a son. Uncle Jean, I will not let you down. Chu Hen turned over and closed his eyes. He murmured softly, I will definitely let the general's residence regain its glory when grandfather was alive. Also, big brother, second sister, I will quickly catch up to you. A deep sense of exhaustion swept over him like a tidal wave. The moment Chu Hen's consciousness fell into a state of sleep, a chaotic world suddenly appeared in his mind. The sky was filled with stars and the chaos was vast. Under the chaotic world, there was a huge black shadow that was tens of thousands of feet tall. It was like an unparalleled demon god. Chapter 12. Early in the morning, the gentle light of dawn sprinkled across the horizon. In the center of the spacious courtyard was a small, empty training ground. This was where Chu Hen usually trained. At this moment, Chu Hen was seated cross-legged on a stone platform within the martial training grounds. A thread of faint golden light lingered around his body like a thin veil. Chu Hen's eyes were closed and his body was as still as a rock. In his left hand there was a crystal the size of an infant's fist. The crystal was translucent, and there was silver light flashing within it like flowing lights. An endless stream of spiritual energy was extracted from the crystal stone and fused into Chu Hen's body. This was a middle-grade primal crystal stone. It contained energy that could be absorbed by the human body. This energy could be converted into true yuan and increase the strength of a fighter. There were many different ways for a fighter to cultivate. The more traditional way was to absorb the spiritual energy of the world and the energy within the crystal stone. In comparison, using the crystal stone was faster and more effective. However, at the same time, the value of the crystal stone was reflected. Even if it was Chu Hen, he could only receive 2 pieces of middle-grade crystal stones from the general's mansion every month. Buzz! With the energy from the crystal stone, the true yuan in Chu Hen's body became restless and uneasy. Crack! Suddenly, a few cracks appeared on the crystal stone in Chu Hen's hand. Its bright luster also dimmed. The surrounding spiritual energy quickly retracted back into Chu Hen's body. He opened his eyes and slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Shortly after, he lowered his head and speechlessly looked at the cracked primal crystal stone in his hand. It's only been a night and I've already used up a mid-grade crystal stone. The sacred monstrous eye body and the chaotic body sure are fast. According to his usual estimates, the energy within a mid-grade crystal stone could last around 5 or 6 days for Chu Hen to absorb. However, it had not even been a night. The difference was almost 10 times faster. Of course, the spiritual energy contained in the primordial crystal stone was not wasted at all. It had been completely integrated into his body. This was also why the 2 great bloodline boundaries were so amazing. Looks like I need to find a way to get more primordial crystal stones in the future. Chu Hen muttered to himself. If he wanted to increase his cultivation speed, yuan crystal stones were an essential resource. Gotcha! Chu Hen exerted a bit of force in his palm, and the impurities in the crystal shattered into a pile of dregs. At this moment, the sound of steady footsteps drew Chu Hen's attention back. Uncle Jean. Seeing Long Jean walk in from the entrance of the courtyard, Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and stood up to greet him. Long Jean's face revealed a gentle smile. Henner, how is your recovery? Thank you for your concern, Uncle Jean. After a night's rest, I'm fine. That's good. As the two talked, they sat down at the stone table on the west side of the courtyard. Uncle Jean is here to ask me about what happened in the past 3 months, right? Chu Hen said first. Long Jean smiled, tacitly agreeing. Chu Hen did not hesitate and replied. After I was framed by Lu Xiao and the others, I was saved by an expert. That expert not only reconnected my broken meridians, but also gave me a lot of important knowledge about Wu Xiu. But, Chu Hen's voice paused. Looking straight at Long Jean, he said, that senior expert said that I am not allowed to tell anyone about him. With a very simple summary, Chu Hen roughly described what happened in the past 3 months. Li Wuxiang clearly reminded Chu Hen that the secret about the former and the demonic eye sacred physique must not be leaked. Although Long Jean and him were like father and son, Chu Hen felt that it was not a suitable time to tell him that he had awakened the demonic eye sacred physique. So that's how it is. That expert must stand aloof from worldly affairs, so he was not willing to reveal his information. This is also the will of the heavens, your life is not meant to end. Long Jean did not have any doubts, but was amazed. After all, with Chu Hen's situation at that time, if there was no expert to help him, he was afraid that he would still be lying in bed and unable to get up. Not to mention defeating Lu Xiao and taking revenge for what happened back then. Chu Hen said apologetically, "Uncle Jean, I've troubled you in the past 3 months." Long Jean gently patted the back of his hand, shook his head and said, "You grew up in the general's mansion. I have long regarded you as my third child. Let me ask you, with such a big thing happening, if I don't help you, who will?" Chu Hen's heart warmed, and his clear eyes were filled with sincere gratitude. Then, Long Jean took out a small gray bag and a book. "Hen here are 20 mid-grade primal crystal stones and the strongest martial technique that your grandfather left behind, the 9-soul dragon seal technique. Keep it well." "What?" Chu Hen could not help but be startled. 20 mid-grade primal crystal stones? Usually, he only received 2 mid-grade primal crystal stones a month, and this was almost a year's amount. This 9-soul dragon seal technique was a core transformation realm martial technique. With Chu Hen's current qualifications, he was not qualified to obtain it. The difference in the level of martial techniques corresponded to Wu Xiu's realm. Of course, not having the qualifications to obtain and not having the qualifications to cultivate were two different concepts. Chu Hen, who was in the Meridian Opening realm, was able to cultivate in high-level martial skills and cultivation technique. However, in the process of using them, because of the lack of true essence and strength, he would not be able to display the strongest destructive power. Simply speaking, with Chu Hen's current strength, he could casually execute any Meridian Opening stage martial technique, and not only would he be able to exert the strongest destructive force of the martial technique, his true origin energy would not be completely exhausted. Similarly, Wu Xiu, who was at the origin opening stage, had no pressure when executing an origin opening stage martial technique. However, if Wu Xiu, who was at the Meridian Opening stage, were to use an origin opening stage martial technique, the true origin energy consumed would be much greater than a Meridian Opening stage martial technique. Only when Wu Xiu's realm corresponded to the level of the martial technique would the lethality of the martial technique be fully released. Even then, an origin opening stage martial technique would only be able to exert 20% to 30% of its strength, and it was still sufficient to surpass the lethality of a Meridian Opening stage martial technique. Moreover, there was another great benefit to a low-level martial artist cultivating a high-level martial technique, and that was the speed at which one's cultivation increased. This was like asking a 10-year-old child to undergo the intense training of a 13-year-old. Although the early stages were extremely difficult, as time passed, the growth of a 10-year-old child would absolutely surpass other children of the same age. This 9-soul dragon seal was a core transformation stage martial technique that was above the origin opening stage. With Chu Hen's current realm, he would absolutely be unable to execute this martial technique. The only benefit was that it could strengthen the quality of Chu Hen's cultivation and increase the speed at which his strength grew. This was a benefit that couldn't be ignored. Hen, this 9-soul dragon seal can absolutely be called a high-level martial technique within the ranks of the core transformation stage martial technique. If you start cultivating now, you can increase the speed of your breakthrough. Once you step into the origin opening stage and practice diligently, you should be able to execute the first dragon seal. Long Jean spoke in a sincere and heartfelt manner. But Uncle Jean, according to the rules of the general's estate, isn't it only the younger generation that have reached the origin opening stage that have the qualifications to cultivate this martial technique? Chu Hen asked in a puzzled manner. Long Jean had always attached great importance to the rules of the general's mansion. Moreover, not everyone could pry into the 9-soul dragon seal. Even the members of the younger generation who had reached the standard could only practice the first half of the 9-soul dragon seal. In the future, when they stepped into a higher realm, they could continue cultivating the second half. Obviously, The 9-soul dragon seal that was placed in front of Chu Hen was the complete chapter. Long Zhan smiled as he shook his head. Rules are dead, but people are alive. Hen, after yesterday's incident, you most likely won't be able to go to Tifeng province. Therefore, I plan to let you be like your big brother and second sister, and go to the imperial capital to participate in the freshman assessment of other high-ranked martial houses. Hearing this, Chu Hen immediately understood Long Zhan's good intentions. With Chu Hen's current strength, it wasn't too difficult to enter a high-ranked martial house that wasn't inferior to a good one. However, in order to ensure that nothing went wrong, Long Zhan, who was always strict, broke the rules that he had set in the beginning. Chu Hen's heart was filled with many emotions. To be honest, it didn't matter whether he had the 9-soul dragon seal or not. After all, the jade scroll that Li Wushang had given him contained nearly 100 martial techniques. However, Chu Hen didn't want to disappoint Long Zhan, so he solemnly accepted the things in front of him. Uncle Zhan, I won't let you down. Seeing the sincere feelings in Chu Hen's eyes, Uncle Zhan deeply breathed out and gave him an encouraging look. I believe that one day, you will definitely surpass your big brother and second sister. Chu Hen smiled faintly, and in his eyes, there was a bit of faint expectation. Patriarch, suddenly, a slightly hurried voice came. Accompanied by the sound of hurried footsteps, a guard of the general's mansion appeared in the courtyard. What's the matter? Long Zhan asked in a deep voice. Reporting to Patriarch, Teacher Li Gu from Tifeng province has come to visit. Oh! Long Zhan was surprised. He looked at Chu Hen, who was beside him, and said, Tifeng province? What are they doing here? Chapter 13. In the living room of the general's mansion's front courtyard, 2 cups of hot tea were placed on the table, still steaming and emitting a faint fragrance. The 2 of you please rest for a while. The Patriarch and young Master Hen will be here soon. A young maid politely greeted them. Li Gu smiled faintly and nodded his head in acknowledgement. Behind Li Gu was an old man in his 50s. This person was the Foreign Affairs staff of Tifeng province who was in charge of the assessment. Not long after, a series of steady footsteps came from outside the door. Li Gu raised his eyebrows, only to see 2 figures appear at the door of the living room. Patriarch, young Master Hen. Several maids hurriedly saluted. Long Zhan waved his hand, his gaze sweeping directly towards Li Gu and Long Zhan. He, Patriarch Long, this Li has come abruptly. I hope I did not disturb your affairs. Without waiting for Long Zhan to speak, Li Gu cupped his fists first, a modest smile on his face. Li Gu's attitude somewhat surprised Long Zhan, but he immediately returned the greeting. I wonder what instructor Li Gu has come to teach me? I don't dare to say that. Speaking of Patriarch Long's heroic spirit yesterday, this Li is truly admirable. There was no sarcasm in Li Gu's tone. From the other's eyes, one could see that there was indeed a bit of admiration. Long Zhan shook his head, gesturing for the 2 to sit down as he replied, Yesterday's matter, I've let the 2 of you see a joke. You have yet to answer my question just now. Li Gu smiled, turning his attention to Chu Hen, who was beside Long Zhan. Today, this Li Gu came for your young master. Oh? Long Zhan and Chu Hen were both startled. Immediately after, the old man standing behind Li Gu stepped forward and took out a golden badge, handing it over to the other party. Young Master Chu, you left in a hurry yesterday and forgot to take this. The golden badge was especially exquisite, and in the center, the words Imperial Style shone with a sharp luster. This was the badge of Tifeng province's student. This is? Chu Hen's face revealed an astonished expression. We agreed yesterday that this year's top 3 geniuses of Fire City will be exempted from the assessment and directly become students of Tifeng province. Moreover, young Master Chu and that Lu Xiao had an agreement beforehand. Since you won, this badge naturally belongs to you. Congratulations on becoming a member of Tifeng province, the old man said with a smile. When Long Zhan heard this, he immediately understood the intention of the other party. As it turned out, Chu Hen's performance yesterday had long won Li Gu's approval. As the main teacher in charge of recruiting students, Li Gu's first task was to recruit the best students for the Emperor Wind Martial House. Long, Li Man, Chen, Long. Chu Hen could not help but look at Long Zhan. Just a moment ago, the two were discussing about letting Chu Hen go to the capital to participate in the assessment of other higher education institutions. Not long after, Tifeng Province had come to visit him. Long Zhan did not say anything. His eyes told Chu Hen to make the decision himself. Considering the status of Tifeng Province in the Sacred Star Empire, Li Gu's willingness to come personally was enough to show their sincerity. Chu Hen could not think of a reason to refuse, so he accepted the badge with both hands. "Thank you, instructors. You're welcome." A relaxed smile appeared on Li Gu's face. In truth, he had been worried that Chu Hen would reject him. After all, with Chu Hen's talent, any advanced academy would open their doors to him. So Chu Hen had many choices in his hands. Fortunately, the other party nodded in agreement. "This is a small gift, please accept it." With that, Li Gu took out a black box and gave it to Chu Hen. Chu Hen clasped his hands together. "I appreciate Instructor Li Gu's kindness, but I cannot accept a reward without doing anything. It's alright. It's just something worthless. Just accept it." Li Gu immediately stood up and handed the box to Chu Hen. "In that case, I thank you, Instructor Li Gu." "You're welcome." Li Gu looked at Long Zhan and smiled. "I still have other matters to attend to, so I won't stay any longer. A month later, Patriarch Long can arrange for your son to go to the capital. Bring the badge with you, and report to Tifeng Province." Long Zhan nodded solemnly. "Thank you, Instructor Li Gu." You're welcome." After a few simple instructions, Li Gu and Long Zhan took their leave. After the two left, Chu Hen opened the box that Li Gu gave him. In the next moment, a dazzling light filled his eyes. There was a pile of crystal-clear mid-grade primordial crystals in the box. At a rough glance, there were about 30 of them. More than 30 mid-grade primordial crystals. For the current Chu Hen, this was definitely not a small fortune. After all, he usually only received 2 mid-grade primordial crystals every month. Tifeng Province is indeed generous. Even Long Zhan could not help but exclaim. More than 30 mid-grade primordial crystals were enough for Chu Hen to open the remaining 2 martial veins. And there would be more. This was enough to show the importance that Li Gu attached to Chu Hen. Chu Hen's eyes shone brightly as he said, "Uncle Zhan, since I have these primordial crystals now, then the 20 mid-grade primordial crystals you just gave me, you can keep them." Long Zhan interrupted, "In another month, you will be going to the imperial capital. At that time, you will definitely need to use the primordial crystals." Chu Hen nodded his head and did not insist any further. There was still 1 month left. Tifeng Province. Chu Hen clenched his fists as his eyes shone with anticipation. Time flew by quickly. The topic of the Tifeng Province assessment in Burning Rain City gradually died down. The young students who successfully passed the assessment had a happy and relaxing time and were ready to leave for Tifeng Province to report. As for those who failed to pass the assessment, they had already embarked on their journey to the imperial capital on their own to participate in the recruitment examinations of other high-ranked martial houses. Some businessmen who shuttled between Burning Rain City and the imperial capital would also bring all kinds of news from the imperial capital. A certain school had produced a certain powerful genius, and some high-ranked martial houses' gates were almost bursting with students participating in the assessment. Every year at this time, the entire Sacred Star dynasty would be the most lively. In the spacious courtyard. In the past period of time, Chu Hen basically did not step out of the door of the general's mansion. Basically, he was concentrating on his cultivation. Buzz buzz. A slightly restless power constantly circulated in Chu Hen's body. He sat on a round platform in the middle of the martial arts field. Strands of golden spiritual power were attached to his body, like a thin layer of gauze. In front of Chu Hen's feet, there was a pile of primordial crystal waste scattered. The most amazing thing was that, at the position of Chu Hen's lower abdomen, there was a purple and a black cyclone. The two cyclones were chasing each other, like two special Tai Chi yin and yang fish. Compared to the beginning, the current Chu Hen could skillfully use the power of the demon I sacred body and the chaotic body bloodline. With the help of these two bloodline powers, all aspects of Chu Hen's physique were strengthened. Buzz! Suddenly, the violent power became even more turbulent. In the next moment, along with a powerful aura, the two cyclones chasing each other suddenly burst out from Chu Hen's lower abdomen. An invisible wave of air swept out in all directions with Chu Hen as the center. Like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, the dust and gravel on the ground were directly blown away. Buzz! The chaotic wave of air persisted for around 10 seconds. Chu Hen slowly opened his eyes. His clear and resolute eyes flickered with an excited radiance. I finally opened the 8th martial vein. Channel opening realm level 8. After working hard day and night, he broke through to the channel opening realm level 8 in such a short period of time. This really made Chu Hen pleasantly surprised. However, in these few days, Chu Hen also used up 6 or 7 middle-grade primordial crystal stones. Boom! Suddenly, Chu Hen's handsome eyebrows raised, and 2 rays of light flashed in his eyes. Strong primordial energy quickly gathered in his right palm. He reached out with one hand and struck forward. Great waterfall mountain destroying palm. Accompanied by Chu Hen's shout, a surging palm energy swept forward like a shock wave on the surface of the water. The powerful palm energy whistled down, and the soil on the ground was forcibly scraped off a thick layer. The scattered dead branches and leaves were smashed into pieces. Finally, with a bang, a large tree more than 10 meters away was smashed into pieces on the spot. Dust flew everywhere, and wood chips flew everywhere. The chaotic airflow seemed to blow a strong gust of wind. Looking at the scene in front of him, a satisfied smile appeared on Chu Hen's face. This great waterfall mountain-destroying palm is a Yuan opening realm level martial skill. With my channel opening realm level 8 cultivation, I can at most use 50% of its power. Chu Hen muttered to himself. However, the demon pupil sacred body has the effect of increasing the power of martial skills. Under the situation of using the power of the demon pupil, I should be able to reach 80% of the power. Thinking of this, Chu Hen could not help but remember what Li Wushang said at Qishan Mountain. Soon, he would be able to break through to the 1-star demon pupil. At that time, the demon pupil would be bestowed with a new eye technique called Nirvana Power. Nirvana Power! Chu Hen clenched his fists, and his face was filled with anticipation. What kind of powerful killing move would that be? And in a few days, he would be preparing to go to the capital. The capital of the Sacred Star Dynasty was the real cradle of geniuses, a gathering place for all kinds of rare geniuses. At that time, there would be a gathering of geniuses, and it was definitely not something that Flaming Rain City could compare to. Chapter 14. Henner, on your way to the imperial capital, you must pay attention to your safety. At the entrance of the general's mansion, a dozen armored guards with weapons in their hands stood beside a carriage. Long Zhan stood on the steps of the mansion, giving instructions to Chu Hen before he left. A month's time passed in a flash. According to his previous agreement with Li Gu, it was about time for him to report to Tifeng Province. Although there was still some time before the deadline for the recruitment of the various high-ranked martial houses in the imperial capital, it was still necessary to familiarize himself with the academy's environment. Zhan Bo, I can go to the imperial capital by myself. You don't need to trouble so many people to escort me, Chu Hen said. Long Zhan shook his head and said, Henner, to be honest, I am more worried that old fellow Lu Xian will harm you on the way. With more people escorting you, I can be at ease. Originally, I planned to let your big brother and second sister come back and personally lead you to Tifeng province, but coincidentally, they wrote back saying that they are busy these days. Letting big brother and second sister come back is even more unnecessary. I am already so big, you don't need to worry about me. That's right. In the blink of an eye, my 3 children have all grown up. Long Jean lightly patted Chu Hen's shoulder and said with a somewhat emotional tone. They were not father and son, but more like father and son. Chu Hen lightly pursed his lips, and a knowing smile appeared on his face. Jean Bo, when I have time I will come back. Haha, good. Long Jean let out a deep breath and said in a deep voice, It's getting late, you should leave immediately. Remember, if you encounter anything you can't solve in the imperial capital, go find your big brother and second sister. Henner understands. Go! Patriarch, don't worry. We will safely escort young Master Hen to the imperial capital. The head guard said resolutely. Jean Bo, take care. Chu Hen, who was sitting in the carriage, leaned out of the window. Long Jean nodded with a smile. His usually stern expression was replaced with the gentleness of a loving father. Under Long Jean's gaze, the carriage gradually moved further and further away. Similar to the mood of the 2 children before him when they left, Long Jean's heart was a little heavy. However, he understood that a young bird that did not leave the nest would not be able to grow well. In the 9th firmament, a young eagle spread its wings, riding the wind and breaking the waves, soaring for 10,000 miles. The great rock soared with the wind, soaring 90,000 li compared to the imperial capital. Flaming Rain City was simply too small. At that time, whether Chu Hen was a dragon or a worm, the outcome would be clear. At this moment Chu Hen, who was sitting in the carriage, also had mixed feelings. Ever since he was young, the memories of growing up in the general's mansion surged into his mind like a tide. Long Jean had always been a strict elder. Whether it was Chu Hen or his 2 children, Long Jean had always been a strict elder. In these few days, Long Jean would often temporarily put aside the matters of the general's mansion to communicate with Chu Hen, or to point out the shortcomings of Wu Xiu. At the time of parting, Chu Hen finally realized how deep his bond with Long Jean and the general's mansion was. Soon, Chu Hen's faint sorrow of parting was gradually replaced by a sense of anticipation. The imperial capital of the Sacred Star Dynasty was a place that everyone yearned for. The most illustrious and powerful family in the dynasty lived there. Originally, old General Long Bo had been bestowed a residence in the imperial capital by the royal family, but he had rejected it. After returning from the front line, the old general only hoped to live in peace in Flaming Rain City and was unwilling to participate in the imperial capital's court affairs. Then, as time passed, General Long Bo passed away, and this matter was slowly forgotten by the people. The imperial capital was vast and had many nobles. As the imperial capital of the Sacred Star Dynasty, the imperial capital had a population of more than 40 million. Other than the local citizens, there were also countless merchants coming from all over the country to promote the development of various industries in the imperial capital. In the eyes of outsiders, the imperial capital of the Sacred Star Dynasty was just like a city that never sleeps. It was a place where prosperity, and power gathered. More importantly, there were many high-class martial academies, which made the imperial capital the cradle of the young Wu Xiu of the Sacred Star Dynasty. It was the gathering place of countless outstanding geniuses. Young Master Hen, we have arrived at the imperial capital. After nearly half a month of tiring travel, Chu Hen and his group successfully arrived at the imperial capital. Along the way, the situation that Long Jean was worried about didn't appear. The Lu clan didn't send people to intercept and kill them halfway. This more or less made the guards of the general's mansion relax a little. Where is this? Chu Hen flipped over and got off the carriage. What he saw was a crowd of people coming and going. It was noisy, and most of them were young men and women about the same age as Chu Hen. Young Master Hen, this is the relay station outside the imperial capital. Outside carriages and horses are not allowed to enter the city directly. Over there is the gate of the imperial capital, the leader of the guards explained as he pointed in a direction. Chu Hen looked in the direction that the guard pointed. A few hundred meters in front of him, a majestic and tall gate came into view. The majestic aura was something that the Flaming Rain City could not compare with. Above the gate that was more than 50 meters tall, there were two majestic characters engraved on it. Imperial Capital. At the bottom right corner of the two characters, Imperial Capital, there were a few smaller characters, East Gate City. East Gate City? Chu Hen narrowed his eyes and said, "Are there still West Gate City, South Gate City, and North Gate City?" Haha, young Master Hen is right. The imperial capital is huge, accommodating more than 40 million people. The area it occupies is the largest in our sacred star empire. Chu Hen nodded and continued to look ahead. The city walls were heavily guarded. Each and every one of the armored guards stood straight like cold spears in their hands, displaying a heroic and fierce aura. "Third brother," at this moment, a shout filled with surprise sounded in their direction. Chu Hen's heart lit up. In the next moment, a young man dressed in green walked out from the crowd and stood beside them. "Big brother! Young Master Qingyang!" Chu Hen and the guards of the general's mansion shouted in unison. The person who'd arrived was a handsome young man with an extraordinary bearing, and every single move he made revealed a carefree and unrestrained aura. This person was none other than Long Zhan's eldest son, Long Qingyang. "Haha, third brother, it's really you. I haven't seen you for half a year and you've grown so tall." Long Qingyang held onto Chu Hen's arm, his face full of joy. Chu Hen was also overjoyed. Long Qingyang had taken good care of him when he was young and had always treated him like his own younger brother. The last time the two brothers met was when Long Qingyang returned home half a year ago. "Big brother, why are you here?" Chu Hen asked. "Father told me to pick you up in a letter. Xuan was supposed to come with you, but unfortunately, she had some matters to attend to at the Bright Moon Martial House, so I came alone." Long Xuan, Long Zhan's daughter. Last year, Long Qingyang and Long Xuan had come to the imperial capital to participate in the examination of a high-ranking martial house. Long Xuan had been accepted by the Bright Moon Martial House. Long Qingyang had entered the Mammoth Martial House. Both the Bright Moon Martial House and the Mammoth Martial House were famous academies in the imperial capital, on par with the Tifeng province. Of course, the reason why the two siblings did not enter the same academy was because of their respective bloodline boundaries. Long Qingyang's bloodline boundary was the Burning Flame martial body, while Long Xuan's was the Frost martial body. These two bloodline boundaries had appeared in the Long family's genealogy, and both of them were bloodline boundaries passed down from their ancestors. At the mention of Long Xuan, the image of a beautiful, frosty girl appeared in Chu Hen's mind. In fact, Chu Hen's relationship with Long Xuan was not as good as his relationship with Long Qingyang. Perhaps Long Xuan still held a grudge against Chu Hen, a family member who was not related by blood. Long Xuan did not come today, not because she was busy, but because she did not want to come. Long Qingyang seemed to know what Chu Hen was thinking, and patted him on the shoulder. "Xuan is really busy this time. Not long ago, her bloodline boundary completed its transformation. It has been upgraded from the Frost martial body to the Ice Soul battle body, and the power of her bloodline has become stronger and more restless. She needs to go into seclusion for a month to recuperate." "What? Second sister's bloodline boundary has been upgraded to the battle body?" Chu Hen was both surprised and happy for her. Seeing the joy in Chu Hen's eyes, Long Qingyang smiled and nodded. "Yes, Xuan's talent is the highest in our family, and I believe that one day, with her talent, she will be able to recreate the Xian body bloodline boundary of our ancestors. Martial body, battle body, Xian body, and the legendary sacred body. The bloodline boundary determined one's achievement in martial arts. In the process of growth, with one's own ability and external factors, the bloodline boundary could be continuously strengthened and upgraded. Of course, it would be extremely difficult to upgrade the boundary of the bloodline. Among the countless geniuses, only a small number of monsters could upgrade the martial body to the battle body. On the other hand, those that were able to transform their battle physique into a profound physique were all monstrous geniuses that were hard to come by in 100 years. Apart from one's own talent and strength, it also depended on external factors. In the history of the Long family, only one ancestor had the bloodline boundary of the Xian body. Ever since then, the power of the Long family's bloodline had been weakening. Now that a genius like Long Xuanxuang had appeared, the family naturally saw the hope of restoring the Xian body bloodline boundary. Once that day came, the Long family would usher in glory that surpassed the past. The appearance of any Xian body would be greatly valued by the Sacred Star dynasty. "Oh, third brother, have you awakened the bloodline boundary? What is it?" Long Qingyang suddenly asked. "This." Chu Hen was slightly stunned, not knowing how to answer. It was impossible to tell the truth, but how could he explain that he had not awakened the bloodline boundary? Just as Chu Hen was thinking about how to answer, the guard leader of the general's residence suddenly stepped forward and said, "Young Master Qingyang, since young Master Chu Hen has been sent to your side, we should return to Flame City." "So soon? It's rare for you to come to the capital, you can stay for a few days. I'll write a letter to my father, he won't blame you." Long Qingyang had always been gentle with people, even his subordinates. The guard leader was naturally flattered, but still shook his head and declined. "It's all right, young Master Qingyang. Now that the three of you are in the capital and the family head is taking care of the family matters, we should return to help out as soon as possible." "All right then. Be careful on the way back." "Thank you for your concern, young master." After that, the group that escorted Chu Hen to the general's mansion began their journey back to Flame of Rain City. "Third brother, it's the busiest time of the year in the capital. Let me show you around." Long Qingyang was in a good mood. Chu Hen smiled. "Big brother, you should take me to Tifeng province to report first. It won't be too late to go sightseeing after I've settled my business." "Haha, you're still the same, thinking about other things after you've done everything. Alright, I'll take you to Tifeng province right now." With that, Chu Hen was led by Long Qingyang towards the capital. However, within the crowd that was coming and going, a pair of gloomy and ice-cold eyes were looking at the two young figures that were gradually disappearing into the crowd from afar.